Doesn't take much, huh?
Okay, I am calling the 6:30 public hearing to order. This is an application of Oceanport Realty Capital LLC and OP 160 Simsbury LLC, contract purchaser of 160 Simsbury Road, for an amendment to existing Special Development District, SDD 106, currently known as Hoffman, Summerwood, and Henley Woods. The application seeks to amend the approximately 9.9 acre Summerwood parcel at 160 Simsbury Road to allow a parking expansion, drainage, and site-related improvements to support a change of use of the existing building from age-restricted multifamily to non-age-restricted multifamily housing units. We'll begin with roll call. Mr. Davidoff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Councilor Blanks.
Present.
Mayor Cantor.
Here.
Councilor Cortez.
Here.
Councilor Fay.
Present.
Councilor McGinnis.
Present.
Councilor Poland.
Here.
Councilor Walters.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Winograd.
Here.
Councilor Zanowitz.
Here.
All present.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. We will begin with a presentation from the applicant.
Good evening. For the record, my name's Megan Hope. I'm an attorney with Alter, Pearson & Hope in Glastonbury. I'm here tonight representing the applicant, Oceanport Realty Capital LLC. They're the contract purchaser of 160 Simsbury Road here in West Hartford. This is an application for an amendment to the existing Special Development District, number 106. The SDD contains two parcels under separate ownership, as the call of the public hearing indicated. We are purchasing just 160 Simsbury Road, which is the former Hoffman Summerwood property, and then the other property in the SDD is Henley Woods, which is age-restricted condominium with 64 units that will remain unchanged. So all of our proposed changes tonight just deal with the easterly portion of the Special Development District. We are proposing to change from age-restricted multifamily to non-age-restricted multifamily, and the additional parking that we require is based on that change of the age restriction. A couple of housekeeping items. I'll submit for the record the public hearing signed affidavit. And then just to confirm the items that have been posted on the Town Council's website, we did receive a positive recommendation from DRAC at their meeting in May. CROG forwarded a report indicating that there's no apparent conflict with the regional plans and policies. We did receive our wetlands permit last night from the Wetlands Commission, and they also, in their capacity as the TP&Z, recommended approval to the Town Council also at their meeting last night. You'll see that the memos from town staff indicated that all of the comments from staff have been satisfactorily addressed in the materials that we have on file. Tonight, you'll be hearing from a few members of our team. Jeremy Browning is the managing member of Oceanport Realty Capital. He'll be talking with you briefly on his experience. They are a local company. He's going to talk about why he selected this site, and also talk about the changes that need to happen to the existing site in order to accommodate this change in age restriction. Chuck Corsi will discuss his extensive outreach efforts that he had with the neighborhood. We've incorporated all of those changes into the plans that we're presenting tonight. Sam Stewart from SLR will review the proposed site changes. She'll talk about the locations of the parking. You'll see that we place those very specifically to try and minimize the impact on existing landscaping. There's very mature landscaping all around this site that was approved as part of the original SDD. And then finally, you'll hear from Tim Geitz, our architect. We have very minor architectural changes. There are some interior changes to the amenities because we no longer need the commercial kitchen, the cafeteria, the nurse's station, all of the other sort of commercial type activities within the building that were used for the age-restricted use. So just to orient everybody, we have Simsbury Road, Route 185, which is a state road on the bottom portion of your screen. Our site, 160 Simsbury Road, Hoffman, Summerwood, located to the north, currently age restricted at 55 and up, has been approved for 108 multifamily units. Over to the west side is Henley Woods, 64 condominium units. It's an open space development. Those are also age restricted. And then to your right is Steeplechase condominium units. Okay. So I just wanted to put up the zoning map. Again, this highlights the two distinct parcels. All of our changes are going to be within this 9.9 acre parcel, which we're purchasing. We aren't proposing any changes to Henley Woods. The two parcels really do operate separately. They have separate curb cuts and separate entrances. There is an emergency access connection in this location here, sort of the northwest corner of our site. The neighbors at Henley Woods did request that that be gated. We did review that with the fire marshal, and he's comfortable with that because he is able to open it in an emergency. So that is something we've incorporated into the plans, and Sam will show you that a little bit later. Okay. Very briefly, I wanted to go through the history of this site. It's gone through a number of SDD amendments. Originally was approved in 1999 for 102 units. Was constructed in 2000. In 2003, the council approved a SDD amendment for some minor changes, add a gazebo, some additional parking. In 2007, the council approved another amendment. There were some changes to the northwest wing of the building, which is over in this location here. So that was just changed from that original approval. And at the end, the council approved 108 total units. And again, we'll be maintaining those units. There was additional expansions to the kitchen and a covered walkway. That construction was completed in 2008. And then in 2015, there were 30 new parking spaces that were added and approved by the council. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a little context of what it looks like today. The building is set quite a bit back from Simsbury Road, and you can see in these couple of pictures all the mature landscaping, which was on those approved plans in 1999, really filled in quite nicely. This is a view looking towards the east. You can see the main entrance here. And then again, this is another view looking east. I was just about at the property line with Henley Woods, which is sort of over here. But you can see where the gazebo is. That shows up on your plans. But you can see how all the items that were in the original approval, the berm, the landscaping, has matured quite nicely. We are able to maintain this existing vegetation with our proposed plan. Okay, so on the left side of your screen is the existing conditions plan. Again, the building is about 108,000 square feet. It's between 2 and 3 stories. Has one curb cut on Simsbury Road and a central circular driveway that goes around the entire site. You can see up here that access way I had mentioned previously that connects over to Henley Woods. What I'm showing on the right side of the screen is the proposed site plan. Again, what you can see from this is that we've really sprinkled in the parking spaces in various areas so to minimize the impact to both the neighbors and also to the existing site, where we're able to increase impervious only by about 1/4 of an acre. So it was done very intentionally. There was some use of parallel spaces, compact spaces, to try and minimize impacts to existing trees. Where you're seeing these red circles, you can see those are locations where there are mature trees that we're able to save within the site plan. We do have to expand the detention basin, which is up here. And I would say otherwise, the sort of main improvements is the revitalization of the current courtyard. And Sam will get that into more detail, but we're really reactivating this space and making it more appealing to our new tenants. There also will be a very limited dog walk area in this northeast corner of the site. It's buffered with some new plantings. Then obviously there is existing vegetation, about 250 feet of woods between us and Steeplechase as well. In a minute, Jeremy's going to talk about some of the changes to the existing site. Currently, the commercial kitchen is located in this area around number 8. In the current building, there's a driveway where food trucks, linen trucks, etc., could back in here and do the deliveries. That's obviously no longer needed with the elimination of the commercial kitchen. So we'll be recapturing that as part of our amenity area, and Sam will talk about that. The dumpster location is located in here currently, so we are going to move that to an existing impervious area over here. That again will be screened within an enclosure. And then another comment that we received from the neighbors was to have a fence all the way down. And this has been extended all the way down. You can see it goes past the gazebo, if you remember that picture I showed you from the street. So it's going all the way past. We've extended that down. There is a slight berm in that location, so we're sort of putting the fence on the high point to buffer any headlights or view of the cars from Henley Woods. So I think with that, I'll pass it over to Jeremy, and we'll hear from Sam. Ciao.
Thank you. For the record, Jeremy Browning, Trio Properties and Oceanport Realty Capital. We are the company that will be acquiring the property. We're based in Glastonbury, 624 Hebron Avenue. I want to talk a little bit about our firm and how we came to acquire the property. So Oceanport Realty Capital is a selective investor of multifamily housing throughout Connecticut and in select other cities and areas, but primarily in Connecticut and Hartford County, most notably. We manage about 2,500 units currently and have another 1,000 apartments in some sort of development or consulting capacity. Our sort of bailiwick are apartment communities that are being built or being revitalized. We'll come in and establish the brand, find out who the right market is, and then design for them, and then ultimately lease up to them and service them through management. We do that across all classes of properties. And our specialty, our calling card, is really repositioning or value add to existing assets. Our company, Trio Properties, which is the management consulting entity, is a 7-time winner of the Connecticut Apartment Association's Property Management Company of the Year. We're very proud of that, and also equally proud of being a National Apartment Association Best Places to Work and a Hartford current Top Workplaces Award winner multiple times. We have an experienced team with over $2 billion in real estate assets that we've acquired, developed, constructed, or managed. How we came to know about this property is when the current operator and owner made the decision that they were not going to continue on with the assisted living operation. A broker reached out to us, knowing our background and desire to create communities within the neighborhoods we work and serve. We really like the property. It has great bones. It's a very attractive building in a wonderful location. We love the town of West Hartford. We really don't need to do much interior-wise. The units are very thoughtfully laid out, and other than sort of cosmetically bringing them up to what the renters of today are looking for and adding laundry in every unit, because that's not a feature that an assisted living community would have. We really aren't doing much in the units themselves. Most of our work and focus, as Tim will describe, is going to be in the amenity areas, a commercial kitchen, nursing stations, hair salons, physical therapy offices, things that are specifically there to service the assisted living population. We are going to replace with fitness centers, club rooms, restorative areas, work from home spaces, package management, all the sorts of things that, again, today's renters are looking for. We think that the rental market in West Hartford, as it is in much of Greater Hartford and in great communities like this, is very strong. And we're happy to propose and include an affordability component, because we believe in that, but we also think, sort of practically, it does also help us diversify our marketing. So that's a win-win as far as we're concerned. I'll give just a little background on some of the other properties we've been involved in, I guess, for context. We're currently working and completing the second lease up of a 2-phase project in Bloomfield, which, as you know, is just a couple miles from our property. These are both in sort of that revitalized downtown area of Bloomfield. High amenities. These are market rate communities. A client of ours hired us to help them develop these brands and help program these communities and lease them up, and they're both very successful. We were recently involved in a large property in Simsbury, 224 units across 3 phases of townhomes, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. Really strong market for that. And we're working on another deal with that same client in downtown Simsbury, right along Iron Horse Boulevard. And I say that to sort of to frame out the fact, and I'm sure you know it from other projects that have come before you, that the rental market is incredibly strong right now. Housing affordability in terms of purchase is a challenge for folks. And so there's a real need. And we really seek out and are excited about this opportunity to take a building that would otherwise sort of be, the business would be slowing down or shutting down, and turn it into something that we think will really will thrive. I also want to just highlight an adaptive reuse we did of an old historic mill in Hartford called Capewell Lofts. It was the old Capewell Nail Factory. This has an affordability component and is a really good example of how we would come in and select amenities that are functional and desirable and develop units that renters want. And then just sort of one more to add a little more flavor, we're working on a second phase and helping design a third phase with a client in Mystic, Connecticut, which is a market where there was really no rental housing stock when we started this process. And the demand there has really sort of come out of the woodwork. So these are the kinds of projects we do, and we hope that 160 Simsbury will be another great project to add to our portfolio. Just to recap, a really tremendous location within a great town. This is a well-built building. It has great bones, a little bit of deferred maintenance, I think, as their business has waned, and we intend to take care of all of that. The unit layouts are thoughtful and only are requiring us to do some really refresh with a few light upgrades. All the assisted living supported spaces will be converted to modern amenity spaces. And over time, they did decommission some of the 108 units to turn them into service spaces, nursing stations, physical therapy, et cetera. We'll be recapturing some of those spaces to get the unit count back to the 108 as part of our construction project. As I said, we'll be addressing deferred maintenance, exterior and interior, and we're going to capitalize on existing strong rental demand. We really believe that by lifting the age restriction on these existing units, we are going to be able to revitalize this building in a really tremendous location and provide some additional housing to the town of West Hartford. Just real overview, I know that our consultants are going to do a better job than me of focusing on the details here, but there's no change in unit count. As Meg described, we're removing the commercial kitchen, which this whole red oval is essentially a service access drive right now. Meg touched on the fact that we're relocating the dumpster to a previously paved area. That's right now a turnaround. It's part of a turnaround for delivery trucks. And we're relocating the dumpster so that, and Sam will talk about how we're going to enhance the landscape buffer here between our outdoor passive amenity spaces and our neighbors, and also the ring road around the property. The teal spaces here are really to give you a sense of the scale of the cafeteria, commercial kitchen, and other supportive uses on the first floor. This is, I believe, is a chapel. There's a library here. And so we're going to develop and provide to our residents a lot of great amenities on this first floor, which we think we hope will make them want to come live with us and stay for a long time. Outdoor enhancements, as I said, are really just the passive amenities in this zone, as well as the dog walk area. And as Meg alluded to, we're adding 42 parking spaces. Here's a closer look at the commercial accessway, garage door. This is, I think, a linens box or some type of grease receptacle. And here you see the existing dumpster, which is, sort of always in this state. So we'll be cleaning all that up. Here's a snapshot of some of the deferred maintenance items we intend to tackle. The siding is failing here. You can see the light posts. These are the internal pedestrian walking posts, which Sam will talk about. We don't intend to change the larger parking driving lights, but these are all sort of tipped and need some help. So, and then concrete walks and things like that we'll address as we go around the property. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck Corsi, who can talk a little bit about the outreach efforts and how they informed the final design for our project.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good evening, Mayor Cantor and members of the council. My name is Chuck Corsi. I live at 21 Walbridge Road here in West Hartford, and I was engaged to do stakeholder and neighbor engagement for this application. I'm just going to try and turn around here a little bit. You see up on the map the area of my outreach. It's interesting to point out, since Summerwood is part of Henley Woods and they're joined at the hip, so to speak, the outreach area was actually 500 feet surrounding both the property and Henley Woods. So it was a bigger outreach area. You can see that it included our neighbors, obviously, to the west at Henley Woods, 64 units. Our neighbors to the east at Steeplechase, 78 units. The Hartford Golf Club, some of the streets just south of the property, Simsbury Road, Mohegan Drive, Hilldale, Brownlee, King Edward, and Tumblebrook Lane, and also the Hebrew Center for Health and Rehab over here. Every home, every property was touched at least once. Just to tell you a little bit about my methodology, the homes direct on the south end of Mohegan, I canvassed those homes, dropped off a flyer inviting people to meet if they would like to or speak over the phone. I got several people that wanted to talk and had many pleasant conversations. And on the Henley Wood side, from the moment I was engaged, we spent a lot of time working with the homeowner association, who kind of were running interference for the members and they had several concerns when we first met. We'll get into those more in a second, but we're very grateful for their engagement and working with us to come to some resolution on those concerns. And then I met with the golf club. They had no concerns, but over at Steeplechase, I also canvassed all of those homes as well as canvassed all the homes on Henley Woods. And I also had a Zoom call for any resident that wanted to participate, come and ask questions. We'll see there were some concerns that came out of that we'll get to in a moment. Make sure. Nope, wrong way. Okay, let's start with Henley Woods first. I think the majority of the concerns come from, which are very quite understandable, come from going from a community that is age restricted, 55 and older, to going to a non-age restricted community. There's issues of privacy that people were concerned about. They were concerned about folks coming into the neighborhood. They were concerned about, people strolling, riding bikes, what have you. Also concerned about some of the sight lines, what they're going to see, what they're going to hear. The one of the first requests that we got, as Megan said, was the gate. Right now, the access road between Henley Woods and the Summerwood property is wide open. And you can see FedEx trucks going in and out, going back and forth. We have agreed to put up a gate that they actually have signed off on. And you know what, there's an important slide here. This is important. The initial proposal you see on your left is what my client submitted several weeks ago. This over here, the revised proposal, is based on feedback that we got from the neighbors, both at Henley Woods and Steeplechase. And I'm going to step away. Well, I know I don't want to get in trouble by getting too far away from the microphone. But the important thing to see over here, I don't know if you can see it where the gazebo is, the fence. There was no fence here in the original plan. There was an added buffer of trees that were planted on top of the berm. The neighbors preferred having a solid fence instead of the trees. And they also asked that the fence extend all the way from the gazebo. You can see it, here it is. You can see here on the proposed. So there's no longer the trees, but there is a solid fence that goes all the way up to the driveway where the gate is right there. So that's the solid fence that's there. As Megan was talking about, there's a berm already there in place. It's about anywhere from 2 to 4 feet, depending on where you're at. You put a 5-foot fence on top of that, it blocks out any kind of views that people will have from their backyards. The other concern they had was about the parking. We had the new parking that was going to be placed, again, going into the far western portion of our property, closer to our neighbors. Drive-in parking. Folks weren't going to get the headlights because of the height of the berm and the fence, but it was going to be rather, quite a few spots there, and it would have eaten into the berm to do pull-in parking. So and I'm sure we'll get into this later on, but this was an important concern that we were able to address. What we've done from this is we've made this parallel parking, just a few parallel parking spots here, and then repositioned those other spots to other places around the property that are less impactful. I'm going to go back here. Let's go. So the fence, the plantings, the gate, the parking, noise. Obviously, people are, we all want the quiet enjoyment of our own property. People understandably concerned about, okay, what kind of noise is going to be coming off the property. And we took that very, very seriously and actually anticipated that from the beginning. So we have the fence, we have the gate. It's also written in the leases that tenants of our property are not permitted to trespass on our neighbor's property. The other things that are in there, loud or disruptive behavior at any time of the day is prohibited, both inside and outside of the building. And like all multifamily communities of this sort nowadays, there's security cameras all over. So if people are not abiding by the rules, there are going to be consequences. This was something, again, that we shared with our neighbors, and I don't want to speak for them, but they were, I believe that they were appreciative of that effort. The other question is the trash management. You saw Jeremy was talking about the repositioning of the dumpster. In a lot of communities, what you have with trash management is you have an exterior dumpster, and residents take their trash out to the dumpster themselves, creating multiple trips, multiple opening and closing of the garbage dumpster, what have you, clanging and all that. That's not how it's going to work at this community. Trash will be collected by their property management team at the end of each day and brought at once from inside the building to outside at one time. They are responsible for opening up the trash, or not the individual trash, but opening up the trash container, exterior container, and then making sure it's securely closed. It's heavy metal, it's not going to be infiltrated, and it's also going to be surrounded by a buffer and fencing that mirrors the fence that's going to be put up. So that was another concern that we had responded to. Let me see. So that covers, I think we've covered Henley Woods. I just want to make sure. Okay. On the steeplechase, they had a couple of other concerns, and a lot of the same noise concerns they shared. But as they are closer to our dog walk area, and I didn't say that, the P word, it's not a park, it's a place to walk the dogs. And again, this is something that is strictly enforced in the leases. If you have a disruptive dog or a barking dog and it's uncontrollable, that's not going to play. And it's in the lease that those, failure of any resident to properly manage their pet would be a subject of not obeying the rules and consequences. If we go to, I want to make sure I'm going the right direction. Okay, so you see here is the dog walk area right there, and it's not a large space. It's about the same size as your average yard, homeowner yard. Not only is it 250 feet away from the property line, but it is going to be buffered by additional plantings and trees all around. And again, the concern was raised. I think you all have, I know you all have my outreach report. You can see a little bit more detail in the conversations that went back and forth. And again, the resident that had brought up that concern, she had voiced her satisfaction at our response. And then again, also the noise. You have here the outdoor area that is now, as Jeremy was saying, the loading dock to the commercial kitchen. You have multiple deliveries of big trucks there, or you did have under the previous use, bringing in food, medical supplies of the like. And you also, the other thing to keep in mind also is at its height, this property had a staff of 75, and that was also, staff work that you had people coming and going at the same time. That is not going to be happening. The staff here is going to be a staff of 2, an on-site property manager to deal with anything during the day, and also a maintenance person that's on site. And the number of the property manager, again, this is in my outreach report, but I wanted to make sure I included it right now. The name of the property manager, emergency contact information is going to be shared with the homeowners association at both Henley Woods and Steeplechase. But you can see here where they're enlivening this area. It's already a patio and a sitting area, but you can see a generous additional plantings and buffers to buffer out sight and sound. I don't think Jeremy mentioned it, but at their communities, they institute quiet hours between 10 p.m. and I believe it is 8 a.m. Those are quiet hours sometimes, so there's no loud activities. If there is loud activities here, it's going to bother our residents here and here and here. We can't have that. So if it's bothering our neighbors, it's certainly bothering our residents, and we're going to make sure that that doesn't happen. That's why we're providing the phone numbers to the homeowners association of both our neighbors. I think, let me just, okay, make sure to do outdoor gatherings. Yeah, I think I've hit everything. I want to make sure that I don't keep you here in the sweltering heat. That's it. Unless you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them now or later on.
Hi, for the record, Samantha Stewart. I am a licensed landscape architect with SLR, 195 Church Street, New Haven, Connecticut. So I'm going to share the previous site plan as was shown during this presentation. So again, just to orient you, we have the building at the center of the site. We have the Loop Drive, Simsbury Road at the bottom, Henley Woods to the left, and Steeplechase Condominium to the right. And also north is to the top left of the plan. So with the change from assisted living or age-restricted housing to apartments or non-age-restricted housing, there's an increase in parking demand. So while we were looking at the layout and the design of the parking, we wanted to be respectful of several site elements. So first, we wanted to look at the existing light pole and hydrant locations, and we wanted to avoid having to move those. We also wanted to look at the existing tree locations and not having to impact those with parking. And then we also want to maintain separation from the adjacent neighbors and also maintain the really nice front yard setback right here. So the plan, as mentioned, is proposing 46 new spaces, and those are going to be scattered along the existing access drive, and we're keeping that access drive to maintain the same circulation network, also to minimize any increase in impervious surfaces as much as possible. Also, with the conversion to non-age restricted, we were able to reduce the number of accessible parking spaces from 7 down to 5, and that's going to include 1 van accessible space. The next point to mention is with the slight increase of impervious surfaces, we're going to be expanding the existing stormwater basin. So that's to the top where number 9 is. And that's keeping the existing location. It's just going to be expanded to the east. And that's going to be planted with native plants, trees, shrubs, perennials, and appropriate native seed mixes. Just to the right of that, we have our first amenity space, which again, as mentioned, is the dog walk area. So that is roughly 1,250 square feet. It's going to be enclosed by a black picket fence. It's also surrounded by a robust amount of planting. We have nannyberry shrubs on the left here, and then also some evergreen trees on the right there as well to buffer to the neighbors. And then just to mention the location of the second amenity space is the courtyard space here, which I'll get into more detail a bit later. And to just go on the topic of trees, again, our goal was to minimize the removal of trees as much as possible. So we only had a net loss of 6 trees in total, and we're planting 18 new deciduous trees and 25 new evergreen trees throughout the site. And to mention a couple of the other site improvements, again, as Jeremy mentioned, we have the new pedestrian level light poles that are going to be throughout the site. I'll show a picture of that soon. And then also relocating the existing dumpster, which used to be in the loading dock, and we moved that out to the left here. There's already an impervious space, and that's going to be screened with a white vinyl enclosure. So now onto the current site plan. So this is after speaking with the neighbors and getting their feedback to, in teams being able to create the best site plan possible. We created the site plan. So first thing to mention, with the existing berm that's to the left here, we took the head-in parking that was there, and we turned that to parallel parking instead. So that's pulling that parking off not only the berm, but also the property line along Henley Woods. Also, we wanted to take advantage of using the compact spaces. So we're using 24 spaces in total for compact, and those are going to be located right here. And again, that's also pulling them a few feet off that property line and front yard setback as well. And also with that new configuration, we were able to have a bit more area in that island for that large existing tree that's right there. We do have tree protection, but with more space there, I do feel more comfortable that that tree is going to survive. The additional compact spaces are also going to be on the right side here with number 14, so that's going to add a few spaces up there. We did remove a couple spaces that were on the top left here since they were impacting some of the vegetated buffer, but then we gained them back down around these areas right here. Again, as mentioned, we, speaking with the neighbors, we switched the vegetated evergreen buffer that's on the left-hand side of the plan to a 5-foot-high white vinyl privacy fence, and that is going to kind of jog along the existing tree line, so not to impact that all the way up, and it's going to extend further down towards Simsbury Road right there. And also for the town engineering comments based on the basin, we did reconfigure that to include a bit more water quality elements such as the detention pond area here, and that's going to overflow into the existing basin, and we are keeping the existing outlet control structure there as well. And for the existing emergency access road to the top left, we're putting a double swing gate there and also some rhododendron shrubs on either side to mitigate any access into that road. So I'm just going to jump ahead just a couple slides just to go first into the courtyard enlargement. So I just want to mention that this space is mainly supposed to be just for passive recreation. It's a quiet space. It's a space to relax. This is including an area that's going to have a small little gathering plaza space with a small reflecting pool, some benches. So this is a place you can go and sit and read or talk with friends. You have just behind that a lawn space with hammocks and Adirondack chairs, a place to do some yoga. You have a curvilinear pergola with some dining tables beneath that, and also a backdrop of a evergreen hedge. So again, this is going to act as a buffer between the courtyard and the neighbors to the left, both for sound and visuals. At the bottom here, we have a more lounge space with some additional bistro tables and some couches, fire tables, umbrellas, whatnot, and just a small outdoor kitchen right here. Again, we have a robust amount of planting that's going to be here. We have a screenboard fence around the existing AC unit, as well as some arborvitae around that. And we also have proposed trees, including Nyssa, which that species was pulled from the existing wetlands. That's the same that's on site. And also we have some eastern redbud trees that are going to have some nice flowers in the spring. And again, that's going to act as a visual buffer to the left. And just again to mention that this is going to be a much more aesthetically pleasing location, you know, versus it being a loading dock that it is today. And you can see that through all the pictures that are shown here. And just to go back, so this is showing the proposed plant palette. So as you can see, it's got a wide variety of plants, a lot of different flowering trees. The main shade tree through the parking lot is going to be Nyssa, several different evergreen trees. Majority of these plants are native, all of which are going to be at the expanded stormwater basin. A lot of these plants are pollinators. They have seasonal interest, so interest through the fall, winter, spring. And then lastly, we have the materials board. So as you can see that this is very cohesive with a lot of the white vinyl, so that's showing up with the dumpster enclosure. We also have the 5-foot-high privacy fence, which is going to be on the left-hand side of the site. That also matches the double swing gate at the emergency access. At the dog walk area, we have the black steel picket fence that's going to be enclosing that area. A couple furnishings, such as the dog waste station, faux fire hydrant, And then also there is a existing shed that's sort of in disrepair right now, so we are going to be proposing a new one that's going to be in kind with the architecture, and that's 10 by 16 feet. And then the pedestrian level light pole, this is the fixture we are proposing, and that's going to be on the white post, just to replace, again, these ones that are in poor condition. And then lastly, we have the proposed benches, which are going to match the existing teak ones on site. So now I'm just going to pass it to Tim to talk about the building.
For the record, Tim Geitz from Geitz Design Associates out of Westport, Connecticut. I was brought on board as the project architect, and I will admit that quite a bit of my work was already done by the prior architect here, because we're not proposing too much to happen on the exterior. I just want to really stress that the skin of the building will be maintained. The shingle style architecture is one of my favorites. To start with, I think Jeremy's team has a great pick here. The deferred maintenance, just to give you a little bit more detail on it, the siding is in disrepair and needs to be replaced, the roof as well, and some rotted trim. They will be going about the exterior and updating pathways and walkways that are damaged. I think the team has done a great job on presenting the site information. So I'm going to focus primarily on the building and just go a little bit further with what Jeremy mentioned on some of the detail of what we're thinking about doing and what we're proposing here. As Jeremy mentioned, the bones of the building are fantastic. So the building was developed, as Megan mentioned, initially in 2000, expanded in 2008. That architectural style just passed on, as it should have, to the third leg of the building. Within the building, there are a series of 6 stair towers, 2 in each wing, 3 elevators. All of that will be maintained. We're fortunate enough that the building was built and virtually every space within every unit and everywhere is ADA compliant, so we won't have a lot of that work ahead of us as well. But with that in mind, I also want to talk about the units and the transformation. I think it's important to understand that, even though that the count exists at 108 and we'll be proposing 108, I want to quickly talk about that ratio and that mix. So today there are 91 bedroom units on site and 18 two-bedroom locations. So what we're proposing within that same 108 total count is a different mix, a mix of 84 one-bedrooms, so only 6 less. I think that's important to know. 18 two-bedrooms will be maintained, and we're introducing 6 three-bedroom units. The other amenity spaces that are on the first floor that Jeremy mentioned, we're really looking to provide spaces that now hit the demographic of all age groups. So what's there today, I know it's been mentioned a lot, I'll try not to repeat, the commercial kitchen, the dining room, and all of these other facilities. We're taking those spaces and really just upgrading them. Some ideas that are coming into play, we talked about the fitness center. The fitness center is key to the location of the new exterior courtyard. The courtyard is tucked between the 2 wings. The placement of it is ideal for keeping sound and all of that down to a minimum. The other thing is, we're hoping to bring in the use of the fitness center to also introduce maybe the courtyard on a nice day, not like today, some yoga activity. Again, a quiet use for that spot. Let me change slides here. Let's see. I want to point out here are 3 typical the three typical unit types. So we've got the one bedroom, the two bedroom, and the three bedroom. Not a lot of change is being done to make this happen. Again, flooring, paint, kitchen cabinets, appliances, and really just a refresh when it comes to the units. Now, where we have three bedroom units coming into play, there are common commercial spaces within the building that exist today that we are going to take away, the office locations. We no longer need those. And that's where we're able to actually squeeze in some of the three bedroom units. On the exterior of the building, this area here was mentioned. This is the current loading zone for the kitchen area primarily. It's probably the worst elevation that the building has to offer, and it is the only spot on the exterior that we are introducing new windows and doors. And the main reason for doing that is at this location, which you can see on the bottom, you can see the before and after, we're linking this to internal amenity spaces so that you have a good feel and a good connection from inside to outside. So the interior amenities will link to the new courtyard space as well. On the site plan, as it relates to the building, I want to point out, you can see all of the walkways. There's a number of connections already from the interior of the building to the exterior. All of that is being maintained. It was done very tastefully originally, and we don't see any reason for modifying that, other than that one spot that I mentioned at the loading area where we make a new connection to the outside courtyard. Sorry, wrong way. Let me go back. Now, in order to pick up some of the new bedroom spaces, the color coding that you're looking at right here, all of what, again, color is subjective, but the majority, you can see the one bedroom units, those are all being maintained. That's the lighter color. Two bedroom units are more of a pinkish color, and then the three bedroom units are more of a purplish blue color. The area I mentioned to you earlier that we were modifying from office space into new units is in the central location on the second floor. And then, let's see, if we go downstairs, the lighter blue areas that are noted, those are all the current common areas that are in the building today. And again, just updating those to new amenity to match the demographic. That's about it. I don't know if anybody has any other questions, but I'm happy to answer them. Okay.
All right, so that's the end of our presentation. I have some concluding remarks, but maybe we can open it up to public comment or questions before I finish.
Thank you, Attorney Hope. So I'm going to ask for a sign-up sheet, and in the meantime, I'm going to reach out to the clerk. So we do open up to public comment on this public hearing. We recommend 3 minutes per person so we can hear from people. And unless you represent a group, official group, you can talk for 5. And we will, if you haven't signed up, feel free to come forward. But Mr. Davidoff, Mr. Town Clerk, have you received any written comments?
I have, Madam Mayor. On June the 3rd, we received an email from Jacob Weil with concerns about the project. Those have been uploaded to board docs. On June 17th, we received an email letter from Chris Conway, President and CEO of the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce, in support of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. And okay, so I will state the first person that signed up, and if you signed up because if you thought it was an attendance sheet, no problem, just pass. So first person is Mary Ellen Nichols on behalf of Susan Brightman. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Mary Ellen Nichols, and I reside at 8 Shipston Drive in Henley Woods. And I'm here tonight speaking for a neighbor that could not be here tonight but wanted her voice heard. Her name is Susan Brightman, Breitman, and she lives at 12 Tabor Circle. dated June 24th, to Mayor Sherry Cantor and the Town Council members. I am unable to attend this evening's meeting regarding the proposed zoning change to amend SDD number 106 for seniors at 160 Simsbury Road for the purpose of changing it to non-age restricted multifamily housing units. I am currently a neighbor at Henley Woods and clearly would be adversely affected by this proposed zoning change. When this joint SDD was established, it was thoughtfully created to address the unique wants and needs of the town's seniors. And now, as our baby boomer population ages, the significance of continuing this SDD as created is even more relevant. To eliminate 160 Simsbury Road from the original age restriction of its residents appears as a appears as a lack of commitment and a betrayal of sorts to its seniors. For this reason, I oppose the proposed zoning change, and I hope the Town Council will deny the proposal request out of consideration for the comfort, safety, and peace of mind of its senior neighbors. Thank you for welcoming opinions on this issue. Sincerely, Susan Brightman.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols, and thank you, Ms. Brightman, for sharing your thoughts. The next person I have signed up is Justin Capella.
Good evening, everyone. Justin Capella, for the record. I live at 149 Simsbury Road. This was actually more just a question to the property team. Apologies in advance for Chuck. I know you'd walked around, but it's been a tough 6 months of having an infant in the house for the first time. The question to the team is more so are there any foreseen do you foresee any issues when it comes to drainage down into the waterways that actually are in the wooded area next to the property? Those do kind of flow into what is between both my property and the Hartford Golf Club, where the fence line is. And I just wanted to be to have that conversation, or to at another point in time we can have that conversation to ensure that there's not going to be an overflow issue, because we have had some flooding in my backyard in the past. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Capella, and I'm sure the applicant will address that. All right, that is the extent of the sign up. If there are people that would like to come and speak, please, you can, if there's multiple, you can line up, but if there's, I don't see any. Okay, then we will go to questions from the council. So Attorney Hope, maybe you can come up and you can actually, if you would like to, reply to both comments, if that works for you.
Tom, do you want to come up and I'll have Tom Daly, our professional engineer, come up and answer the drainage question.
Thank you, Meg. Yes, Tom Daly for the record. I'm a professional engineer and with SLR. One thing of note is I appreciate the neighbors' comments. The reference here is, I think, down into this area, this wet. As you can see, this blue line, this bottom of the slope is all wetland here. Interesting enough is our drainage, we're not sending any drainage to that location. The drainage actually comes out of the basin, goes up and around, and discharges over by the Hebrew Home and Hospital. So from, in response to the comments, we are not sending any drainage down into this area, so there'll be no change as a result of this project. But even for us to go that other location, town engineering staff, we provided all drainage calculations, and that's why we're expanding that basin, is to mitigate for the increase in runoff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. I appreciate that. Okay, and I don't know if you would like to have Jeremy or somebody address I don't know if that's something.
Yeah, about the age restriction, I can touch on it, and so can Jeremy as well. But do you want to go first? Yeah, you just gonna say, yeah.
Okay, I can speak to this. So I did have, thank you for the question and comment. We did have several conversations with the existing operator and seller of the property who runs that business and was running that business. They had made the decision to cease operation of the business long before we ever got involved, but they did share with us that starting sort of in 2020 and with COVID, they had unfortunately lost a significant segment of their population. They did experience another large percentage of their residents who had made the decision to move to Florida. And lastly, and I think this was really sort of where they came to the terms with stopping doing this business there, this facility does not have a reminiscence ward or an Alzheimer's specific wing, which as folks advance in their need for care, they would have to then relocate to somewhere that did. Coincidentally, my wife used to work down the street at used to be Sunrise Assisted Living. Now I think it's Brookfield or something in the reminiscence ward. So it's a different level of service and care and security. And so those are the three reasons that were shared with me as to why they had decided to not do that business there anymore. So, I can only, that's the limit of my understanding of why they no longer want to operate that business there.
Again, Chuck Corsi. I spoke to Susan at length over the phone, and I think I started my comments by saying there is concern when you go from age-restricted to non-age restricted, and especially, I've got to say, I should have mentioned this first, I've never spent a lot of time in Henley Woods or Steeplechase, and those are beautiful neighborhoods. They're peaceful, they're quiet, and beautiful homes. I mean, I went back and talked to my wife afterwards, and I said, and I can totally appreciate where they're coming from, because especially if you haven't been seeing some of the new development, maybe just reading about the new development that we've had in town, when you hear about a new apartment building, your mind could go very easily to a lot of traffic, a lot of people, a lot of noise, on and on. Some of you were here for the application on Steel Road, that you took the former sister's home that was, it was very similar. You had a obsolete property being redeveloped and actually proposed for a much more intensive use, closer to 200 units. And that was one of the first ones in West Hartford that was proposed. And understandably, there was a lot of concern amongst the neighbors, a lot of concern, and which again is understandable. I go, in talking to Susan, she was very concerned. What if their kids riding their bikes in the neighborhood and I don't see them, or they leave a bike on the, very, very. I'd have the same concern if I was in her place. Shortly, in those of you who were here, it was actually it wasn't a night like tonight. It was more like a morning for that hearing, because that went till late in the evening. But after it was approved and occupied, some of those neighbors, would call me and say, "What's going on with that Steel Road project? Because there's nothing going on. We don't see anybody." And it was fully occupied. And I hate to tell people, well, take our word for it. It's not going to be an intensive use. You're not going to see kids here. At Steel Road, again, a community that's much larger than this one, you have 5 children in the West Hartford public school system. And many of those children also have another parent living elsewhere in town. So this is going to be a quiet community. People are not going to be venturing off into the neighborhood. And that's really what Susan was most worried. People coming from our community going into Henley Woods. That is not going to happen. It's a violation of the lease that residents sign. It will not happen. If it does, there will be consequences for that resident. So I can totally understand. We had a very pleasant conversation. And again, I ended it saying, you know what, I'm not going to ask you to take my word for it, because I wouldn't take my word for it. But I wanted to try and give some sort of assurance. But I totally appreciate where she's coming from. I'd feel the same way if I was in her shoes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corsi. All right. Now we will open it up to the council for questions. So, Mr. Cortez.
So I got a few questions. One is with the trash container. So you guys are moving the location. Is it the same dumpster that you guys are currently using? Because I know since they're bringing it out once in the evening, is it going to be like several trash cans that they're bringing out? So I'm just curious of the dumpster.
Thank you. It's a similar size dumpster. It won't be the same dumpster. The dumpster that's there today is the one that the assisted living facility is using. So, but it's a similar size dumpster pad, so presumably similar size dumpster. And the difference really, and Chuck touched on it, is we utilize a third-party service. It's called valet living or trash valet, depending on which one we go with. And the residents put out a small trash container outside their apartment between the hours of 6 and 9 p.m. And a vendor comes around and collects them all with a watertight buggy and then brings all the waste out in one trip and loads it into the dumpster and then closes the gate back up. So that's where we gain an advantage from, having multiple residents come and go, and they maybe don't care about the dumpster as much. So we have a little more accountability there. And again, it's limited in terms of the back and forth of the dumpster.
Right, thank you. My next question is, what is the current vacancy on the complex right now?
At last report, they have 7 residents left.
7 residents.
It was 51% occupied when we had our initial conversation with them.
And then the timeline for the project, because it's, it is a lot. It seems like it needs definitely some freshening up, and there's a lot of moving parts. So what is the timeline for
Yep. Our timeline, if we, once we receive approvals, we'll close on the property within 60 to 90 days. In the meantime, we'll be gathering quotes and getting ready to sign contracts. We anticipate doing the exterior renovations right away, starting on the landscaping and beginning interior renovations as Tim described. Interior of the units is really a lighter touch, so we can move through those pretty quickly. And the common areas will hire an independent contractor to work that part of the project. So we'll have 2 projects going on simultaneously. And our hope would be to deliver the first few units, first tower, however the town will let us certify those for occupancy in the spring of 26. So it is a little bit of a large project, but we can move through it very quickly because we can take it in bite-sized pieces with separate vendors, and that's how we plan to attack it.
And then another question in regards to also, is there any affordable housing portion to this? Are you guys adding units, or do you guys currently have like affordable housing units on the
We proposed 8% affordable housing as part of the lifting of the age restriction.
With the lifting of the age restriction. And then the other question is, as far as the age restriction, right? The reason the assisted living, I noticed a lot of assisted living facilities are shutting down, and that's more so because seniors are aging in place, and they're being more, living independent. So I just find it, why removing the age restriction when you look at places like Simsbury and Avon close by, they're building 55 and older units, but yet in West Hartford that's like the missing middle that we always talk about. Like there is that demand for the 55 and older. So I just found it interesting, just removing the renovations obviously will make a difference. And I mean, you can target it, for like, depending on the rent, what you're looking for, and I think freshening it up will bring, like if you build it, they would come. So I'm just surprised on removing the age restriction.
So our sort of analysis or market analysis when we started looking at this project, and we still think it holds true, is that we welcome all age groups. So, we think young professionals will want to live at this highly amenitized community. A lot of the units, as Tim described, are on the smaller side. So folks who want to get into their first apartment, we think this will be a great spot for them, particularly with some of the amenities and the location, being so close to West Hartford Center and all the golf clubs around. Easy to the city, easy to the airport. But we also find in a lot of our communities, and I showcased a couple of them in Mystic, Harbor Heights is directly across from Stonegate, which is an assisted living community. And we find a lot of folks moving to our property that think they envision themselves potentially one day moving across the street. And we actually find, and same thing in Simsbury, when we started those properties, the first couple we developed with our partner there were some of the first rental units in Simsbury. And we apply fair housing across everybody. So whoever comes in and applies and qualifies, we rent to. And the eclectic mix of residents there, young, old, in between, really created a strong sense of community. And we'd have a lot of events with those residents where they would get to know each other, and that sort of cross-pollination of those groups is something that we find really strengthens our communities that we operate across the state. So we don't think sort of excluding that younger set of folks is a great idea for the property for its long-term success, or to exclude those folks from the opportunity to live within the community.
Thank you. So I do want to say I do appreciate the addition of the 6 3-bedroom units. That is one thing that in the 4 years I've sat on council that, we've seen very little of. So I do appreciate that, again, it's just that missing, the thinking behind the missing middle piece. But thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Mr. Walters.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Councilor Cortez almost stole all of my questions, but didn't quite get them all. I want to touch base back going to the attainable and affordable units that might be present. In the documentation I read, at or below 80%. I wanted to know if that had been decided yet and what the below meant. And also, what would the division, what would the breakdown be of those units as far as being attainable or affordable? And I use attainable because we know that 80% is attainable, not affordable. So I think that is going to be my primary question. I'll leave it at that to save some for everybody else.
Sure, and I'll just, I can let Jeremy jump in, but I will point out something that was in our initial application letter. We are, as part of our application, we have this 8% that will be deed restricted for 30 years. I did indicate in the letter that we're intending to pursue the CHFA funding program, that we anticipate that will allow us to potentially increase that percentage, but we won't know until we get the funding. So Jeremy has done that on other projects. We can commit to 8% today, which is why we put that in the letter. But he's been successful working with the state with that program to basically deepen the percentage of affordability, which is the purpose of that project. And I don't know, Jeremy, do you have anything else to add on?
Just to clarify, the 80% is the maximum that someone would qualify under, so anyone under 80% would also qualify for those units. And then the, did I say that correctly? So 80%, and then what was the second part of your question? Oh, they're spread out pro rata throughout the property, so 8% if I had,
Of the different unit types.
Of the different unit types. So at 100 units, 8 of them would be affordable, of all types, ones, twos, threes.
Right, and I that was sort of where I was going but it sounds like you may not have a pinned down number completely yet, but the breakdown between 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, I guess, is
correct. So I can share a little bit about the Build for CT program for those that aren't familiar. It's a CHFA program. It's meant to incentivize developers to provide additional affordable housing throughout the state. It's only applicable if your if your approval restriction is less than, I think, 10%. So, and then what they require is that we go to 20%. So when we apply for that, it's essentially a loan. It's a second loan.
Right.
So when we apply for that loan, we'll say we have 8% that we're committed to through the town of West Hartford's approvals. We will up that an additional 12% to a total of 20 if you provide us with this funding. And then CHFA sets those rents for those folks that qualify at the 80% level.
okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolute sense. Thank
I
you.
also should clarify, just for full transparency, the CHFA and the Build for CT program will also, if they look at your rent spread, they will potentially go to 100% AMI if they're still seeing a significant discount to market. So I have seen that happen at other properties. So like if the 80% level for those units was, trying to think of a good example. So let's just say the market rent was $1,000 and the 80% level was $600. If the 100% level was $800 and they still saw a good significant $200 gap, that program, the people that operate that program may say, we still deem this an affordability, a bonus to affordability because someone can save $200 a month. And so they might give us credit for those units at 100% AMI instead of 80% AMI.
Okay.
The 8% that we're asking for here will be 80% regardless.
Okay, thank you.
I want to be this.
Thank you. Mr. Ledwith, do you want to just update us on how air raid sirens going on out there?
Yes, Madam Mayor, it's not an air raid, it's landscaping happening about a block away.
Okay.
Be working on our leaf blower ordinance, I
All
suppose.
right, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Kind of thought that's where we go. Ms. Blanks. Thank you, Mr. Walters. Ms. Blanks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to the presenters for the presentation. I just want to go back to the trash dumpster for a minute. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I have a little experience on this since I have these adult young people. There's going to be one dumpster, I'm assuming, for these 108 units based on what you said, the sort of the personal pickup. Have you taken into consideration as well when people are moving in and moving out and sort of kind of have this overflow? How often will the actual trash be picked up and like emptied out? That's one question so far.
Yep. So typically in our other communities, it's based on usage. And for similar size communities, the pickup would be 2 to 3 times a week. Leaning more towards 2, but depending on the usage, it could potentially be 3. And then to sort of follow up on your question about people moving in, my expectation is that we would site an overflow dumpster in a vacant parking space while we filled up most of the building to capture a lot of that. We'll recycle all that cardboard and get all that stuff collected to not overwhelm the dumpster. So you have to have it picked up all the time.
Thank you. Another question through you, Mayor. What is the, I guess, proposed square footage of the units? I know you have the existing ones, but with the 2-bedroom and the 3-bedroom. And then I also have a follow-up question.
Sure. Hold on a sec. I don't think it is. Let me see if I have.
Okay, this is Tim Geitz. I do apologize, I don't have exact square footages, but I would say that we are potentially in the range of, for the 1-bedrooms, somewhere around 700 square feet, heading towards 1,200 to 1,500 square feet for the 3-bedrooms, and then the 2-bedroom falling somewhere in between.
All right, thank you. And another one through you, Mayor. I didn't see anything on there about a bike rack or storage or anything like that. And I know that, you know, people probably can do that in their own unit, but I'm looking at visitors and whatnot. Is there anything proposed for that?
We don't specifically have an outdoor bike rack sited, although there are many opportunities along both the front and back of the building to do so. You'd add a concrete pad on the back of a sidewalk. We also are working, Tim and I are working on fine-tuning all of the amenity program, and there's a possibility that within the building we'll devote or dedicate a space to unit storage and possibly bike storage. So it could be 1 room or maybe 2 rooms that allow storage for skis or snowboards or bikes or whatever you're into, but also a bike room. So as we fine-tune the interior program, we'll sort that out. But we certainly recognize that bikes are desirable and people care for them. And certainly with what I'll call our efficient units, the 1-bedrooms that are on the smaller side, we know that space is at a premium, so we'll give them an alternative.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll yield back so others can ask some questions.
Thank you, Ms. Blanks. Ms. Fay.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm not wearing sunglasses because I think I'm cool. I forgot my reading glasses. And I can't see this because I did write some questions down. So what's the number of total parking spaces?
144 parking spaces.
144, so that's roughly 1.5 per
Correct.
unit, so it's the old
We're
parking.
a little bit over.
Okay, so that includes the visitor spots as well?
Yes.
Okay. I already asked the square foot. There's no garages here, correct?
Correct.
Correct. And you didn't mention a swimming pool. Is there a pool?
It's not a swimming pool, it's a reflection pool.
Reflection
So
pool.
nobody should be going in it.
But that's not for, yeah, so
Yeah.
nobody should be in
Yeah.
there, right? Okay. Did you guys consider, we've got a lot of rentals and more coming online, and I'm sure there's more that will be coming to us. Did you consider an ownership possibility, like condos or, because that is a sticking point for probably Glastonbury too, but in West Hartford, the affordability of single-family homes and condos is out of reach for a lot of,
Yeah, I think that's the challenge for us when we underwrite an opportunity like this or a project like this, is we find the demand is more with the apartments due to their affordability, particularly when we're able to layer in an affordability component. And the condo market is somewhat more uncertain. It's harder for us to get financing for it or investors or to make the project happen. So I think from an economic standpoint, we didn't feel like that was a project that we could get across the finish line, so to speak. Whereas the apartments, the demand for us is proven, and we're very confident in the viability and the need for a project like this in West Hartford.
so in terms, markets change, prices go up and down, and inventory
Absolutely.
changes and all that. Is this a long-term play that you actually see rentals being stable and desirable over the long term?
It really is. I was on the phone with a potential client today who is out of California, and we were once again sort of trying to describe to them and get them to understand the Connecticut market, particularly the central Connecticut market. It's a very stable market. It's a very desirable market. People want to be in these communities. They stay in the communities. We envision people, younger people coming to this community, eventually buying a home in West Hartford. And so every project that we've managed, whether we started 16 years ago or 2 years ago in these markets, has been incredibly successful and remains. Our average occupancy is 96% across our portfolio.
Wow.
So it's, the demand is really there, the traffic is there. And so, yeah, I think what we like about this project, among everything else, in addition to everything else I've already said, is the units are different. They're a little bit smaller. There's some of the bigger ones that Tim's done a great job with are very unique, and we think might serve somebody who wants to sell their big home but wants to stay, keep a foothold here in West Hartford. So we really like that as a different alternative to some of the other more traditional new build construction developments that are happening in West Hartford and elsewhere. So that's one of the sort of many facets of why we like this project, and we feel very positive about the need.
Yeah, I've been in there. It's a very nice facility, building overall, so I was happy to hear that you're not anticipating a lot of changes construction-wise. So with the 2 bedrooms and 3 bed, I know you can't predict the future, but obviously when we put more housing in, there's an impact to services that are required, the police, fire, and schools. I know we said we don't anticipate a bunch of children there, but I would think the 3 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms would be desirable for people with children. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's possible.
Yeah.
I will tell you that in our other communities in similar towns like this, those larger units tend to get gobbled up by folks who are selling large homes and are empty nesters. They want to downsize, but they're not prepared to move into a small 1-bedroom or a 1-bedroom den, and they find that they're, particularly when they look at a tax bill they used to pay, they're very comfortable paying the rent, which to a lot of us feels very high for one of those 3 bedrooms or larger 2 bedrooms units, but it still works well within their budget and it simplifies their life. And those are the folks that we see moving into those units. Again, fair housing, we'll accept anyone that qualifies.
Right.
But I'm just anecdotally telling you the folks we see moving into those larger units don't have kids.
Okay, because I know that was one of the concerns by some of the residents who live nearby, were children running around and things like that. Let me just see if I have anything else. Oh, did you guys, are you going to do any green energy with the building in terms of heating and cooling?
Yes, there's an existing physical plant there that's in very good shape, but we anticipate, high-efficiency controls, energy-efficient lighting. We'll have a solar consultant look at the property for opportunities. It's a significant electrical service that's there today. So we'll be looking for under every stone to try to minimize the amount of electrical use and expense there.
Okay.
That's kind of, I don't need to sort of be brushing over it, but that's something we would do at any one of our properties, and we certainly anticipate doing it here.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because a lot of the newer, well, this isn't new, so that's a difference, but they have that kind of built in and baked into the plan, so I just want to make sure. I don't, it's probably in here, and I don't remember seeing it, but the traffic studies. So you're going from, an over age where I don't assume, probably a lot of people aren't driving, right? And the use of it now. When you go expand your market to lower ages, I imagine there's going to be a lot more traffic in and out. People are going to be going to work. People are going to be, things that aren't in use now. Can you guys talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll have Tim come up. We did submit a traffic study as part of our application. It was reviewed by the engineering department.
Once again, Tom Daly for the record. You make a good point about traffic, and it's really, as you know, so a traffic study was submitted. This project already has an OSTA permit, so we have to go back and modify that as part of that. OSTA actually covers the whole project. So we'll go back to the state and get it re-registered with this. But as we do the traffic studies, we really focus on peak hour, right? Those are the ones that the most traffic, and this falls more in the commercial activity. During the peak hour, they were giving that all those employees were coming in, and they were coming in a big lump of shift. So really, the existing facility, they also had a lot of caregivers that were coming in and out of the residents weren't driving, but I think there was one note we showed you that we got 30 more parking spaces approved, years later, because so many caregivers were coming in. So the peak hour actually goes down because we don't have those large shifts of employees coming in. Residential tends to be spread out more of the day. If you think about your street, I leave before the peak. My next door neighbor is a teacher. They leave after the peak. So it's much more mediated throughout the town, the day. So really, from a traffic standpoint, there's really no impact. We do also have the luxury of coming out on a state highway with very excellent sight lines. So from our perspective, our traffic analysis showed that there would be no negative impact to Simsbury Road. And we're now gating off the back. So you're not going to get, though that being said, we did a traffic count. We only found one car going through the back entrance drive. But so the traffic study, all the traffic counts that we did traffic counts at and all the published data we provided are from the DOT. So we just plugged in the DOT rates, and the analysis showed, as I said, we still have to go to the state to get that final approval from them.
Okay. Let me just see if I have any more. Thank you. Sorry, Sherry, I'm wrapping up. I think that wraps it up, so I appreciate the chance to ask you questions, and thank you for your answers.
Thank you, Ms. Fay. Ms. McGinnis, you have?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a quick question. Are there EV chargers on the property currently? And if not, will you be adding some EV chargers to the?
No and yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to know amount? Do you have amounts or?
We don't have an amount yet. It's kind of, we put in the infrastructure for more, but we start with 2 to 4, just 2 pedestals, which is service 4 cars, is more than the market demand currently is at most of our properties, even 200 units or more. So we'll start with that. But we certainly intend to have EV chargers.
Okay. Ms. Pullen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, 2 questions. One is regarding the refuse pickup. Are you also going to provide an opportunity for recycling for the residents?
Yes, we'll probably have a recycling either room or potentially a separate container within the enclosed dumpster where the recycling will go.
Thank you.
Maybe you can speak a little bit closer to the mic. I'm afraid that
Oh, I'm
people
sorry, sure,
might.
sorry.
Thank you.
Did you hear what I said? So yes, we
Yes,
will
I
either-
did, but for the record
We'll
and for
either, yep,
others,
sorry
yes.
about that. We'll have either a recycling room within the building that folks can leave their recyclables in, potentially, totes on every floor, something of that nature, and it'll get taken out to the dumpster where we'll have a separate container for those recyclables.
Thank you. And just one final question. It seems to me you did do a lot of outreach to the folks at Henley Woods next door, and yet you weren't able to secure the letter of consent from them. And I'm just wondering if you can shed a little light on what happened there. Thank you.
Sure. So I think, Jeremy, as soon as you got under contract, you started talking with Henley Woods, and Jeremy had a very good conversation back and forth with their board. When we were getting ready to submit the application, we had actually originally intended to separate the SCD, so to create two separate SCDs, which just makes it easier for both parties moving forward when you have to amend it. And when we talked about doing that, when they spoke with their attorney for the condo, it necessitated a vote, which was out like 30 days or something like that, and we were sort of under a time limit within our contract to file. So that's why your regulations allow you either to have consent or to simultaneously with the submission to the council send them everything. But we were in communications before with them, so that's sort of the genesis of what happened.
Thank you. That's really, really helpful to hear. And it does seem, based on the documentation that you provided, that you've spoken with a lot of residents, addressed concerns, made modifications to the plan. So that allays my concern on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pullen, Mr. Winograd, you want to have any?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple things mostly have been covered, but just clarification on the parking. You're putting in more than is required by our zoning?
Correct. Yes, we have more, a little bit more than's required, yeah.
And that's based on your own analysis of the market? Not that we're making you put in parking, but you've decided that's what you need for?
Yes, we made sure we met what was required, and then I asked Tom and his team to give me as many more spaces as we could reasonably fit. So that's how we arrived at the number we're at.
Okay, and again, I mean, there's certainly been a lot of discussion about parking requirements and whether they're too onerous. So, I just wanted to be clear that you're putting in what you feel you need, and not sort of being forced to put extra.
Not being forced to put extra, we're comfortable with the amount of spaces we have. We would, if we could fit in 5 or 6 more, we probably would, but we're totally comfortable with the spaces we have.
Okay.
We manage communities with less, and we make it work. So.
Right. Thank you. And a couple, just to follow up again on the bike facilities. I hear you said about adding them. I wonder if you'd object to having that be a condition of approval, that bike facilities be added to as a condition.
I don't have a concern with that. I guess my open-ended question would be like, how many or what flexibility would we have to determine what the market needs?
Right. But I think it's important to have something, and we can talk about that perhaps. And then through you, Madam Mayor, one other on the affordable units. You mentioned the 8%, which would be, I gather, 9 units. Is that the intent? Are any of those, is your intent to have any of those be the multi-bedroom units? You have 24 2- and 3-bedroom. I don't see.
Yes, we would scatter the units on a pro rata basis based on the number of, 8% of the ones, 8% of the 2s, 8% of the 3s.
And the 3s you only have 6, so I'm guessing
we'd end up with 1.
Probably.
We'd end up with 1.
Okay, and there would be one of, and so as well as it, but that is the plan, to have 2 or 3 of the units be multi-bedroom.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Winograd. So lots of questions. I do have a comment for Mr. Capella. Thank you for coming with a baby and and sharing your concerns. And I appreciate Ms. Brightman's comments and your comments as well. I didn't see, were the units individually controlled from a heat and air conditioning perspective? And is that remaining the same, HVAC?
Yes, they are individually controlled now, and that same system will remain in place.
Okay, so there's no change to compressors, or would you be adding
Only,
some?
only replacing or adding as needed based on, expiration of useful life, or if we're reconfiguring a unit, we might be adding in a different system for some of those newer units. But the existing units, primarily the bulk of the units that we are renovating, they have an existing in-wall fan coil unit that works off of a central plant, and those units will stay. And, each apartment, if it's a one-bedroom apartment, it has one unit in the bedroom and one unit in the living space. So those work well. We have them in many properties, and we don't see a reason to sort of reinvent the wheel with those. But every unit will have its own thermostats and controls.
Okay, thank you. And then any kind of snow removal, it does appear you have a land that you could store snow, that's not an issue. Might be in other locations, correct? I mean,
Yeah, we don't have any concerns about that. I would say one of the things of being in the property management business for 20 plus years is we're very focused on operational needs. And so we have snow shelves everywhere. Tom did a great job of making sure that we've got a way to manage that snow effectively.
Isn't it special that we can talk about snow on a 100-degree day? Yes, so I think most of the other questions were answered. So I will open it up one more time around. Any follow-up questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I will go to Ms. Blanks and then Ms. Fay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Fay. I did have a quick question on that noise piece in the lease. Would that also apply to visitors? And I'm only bringing this up because I think I encountered this the other day with a car, don't know if it was a resident or owner, coming in, but the music in his car was blasting. So I'm sure you've taken that into consideration, but can you just comment on that a bit?
Yep, the way the leases work, a guest of a resident, the resident is responsible for the guest's behavior and actions on the property as well. So any rules violation, noise or otherwise, would be addressed with that resident as a lease infraction. And I would just say, sort of go further, I think to answer your question, if someone was driving through our property blasting music and we couldn't associate them with the resident or figure it out, we'd call the police.
Thank you, Ms. Blanks. Ms. Fay.
Thank you very much. Simsbury Road there's a lot of speeding on it. It's very, very busy. We had a very, very bad traffic fatality. I want to say it was a year ago, right? Something like 2 years, okay. Do you anticipate any addition of traffic lights or traffic calming or anything else as a result of this development?
Just will say, actually, Mr. Ledwith can probably address that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and to Councilor Frey's question, that is, you're right, there is a speed issue at times on Simsbury Road, and we will be working with the Department of Transportation, Connecticut DOT, along with our Vision Zero action plan in addressing traffic calming as well as speed. That will be one location that we will be working with the town council in terms of adding a speed enforcement camera for Simsbury Road among 14 other locations. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's a priority, and we are all well aware of the really dangerous speeds that are traveled on that beautiful road, residential road. Okay. Mr. Cortez.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just one more question. What are the current rents right now for the 1 and 2 bedroom units? Was that?
Yeah, the building is not, it's just assisted living now, so we don't have rent set.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. One more time around. Okay. So I am reading in for the record, although Attorney Hope did, but this is what we do to make sure. Letter dated June 24th, 2025 from the Town Planning and Zoning Commission recommending approval. Letter dated May 30th, 2025 from Design Review Advisory Committee recommending approval. And letter dated June 10th, 2025 from the Capital Region Council of Governments finding no apparent conflict with regional plans and policies or the concerns of neighboring towns. And I think Attorney Hope has some closing remarks by just circling around one more time. No questions, no further questions for the council. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Again, for the record, Megan Hope. As they indicated in our application letter, our proposed application does meet your STD regulations. I put the findings at the end of that letter. I'll also note for the record that we are consistent with the Plan of Conservation and Development, which encourages diversity of housing, supports rental stock expansion, and enhances existing neighborhoods by providing access to future residents. I think it's really important with this project that we are converting it and not expanding it. I think that's what makes it very unique and really helps us to maintain and stay cohesive and consistent with the existing neighborhood. Another thing that I think is unique about our project is that we're taking existing housing units that are currently on the books in town. We're adding an affordability component. Typically, when we come in with a multifamily project, we're increasing that denominator as well. And in this case, we're chipping back a little bit at the numerator. So I think that also is important and unique about this. I think the team has done a very thorough job, so I don't want to belabor the point, but we feel that this is going to be a nice addition to that part of town. I think it'll be very desirable. It's something different than some of the other units that are coming up in town, and we look forward to bringing this project to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to the whole team. It was a great presentation. Appreciate it very much. We are going to go to our public comment because they were signed up for 7:25, and I am sensitive that we are running a little late. And then we'll take a quick break and then open the council meeting. So I am calling, if you don't mind, I am calling the Tuesday, June 24, 2025, public comment to order.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry,
we didn't close the public hearing. I
Thank you.
apologize. If there's no objection, I'm closing the public hearing. Any objection? The public hearing is closed. Thank you. And now we are opening the public comment, 7:25, call to order. And I think we should do a roll call just to have it on the record, Mr. Deva. No, thank you so much. Yes, appreciate it.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Councilor Blanks.
Present.
Mayor Cant.
Here.
Councilor Cortez.
Here.
Councilor Fay.
Present.
Councilor McGinnis.
Present.
Councilor Poland.
Here.
Councilor Walters.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Winograd.
Here.
Councilor Zdanowitz. Here. All present.
Thank you. And this is a communication from Andrea Stone, Debbie Sheridan, and Cindy Gauthier addressing the council on the construction of the new animal control facility. We recommend you keep the comments to 5 minutes because we have a busy night, but please come up. The mic is automatically goes on. Please speak into the mic. Could you please just state your name and your address for the record first? I don't know. Yeah, probably up. If you can, not disrupt.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cindy Gauthier, 44 Manchester Circle. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight about this very important subject. I'm greatly concerned about the construction on the new animal control facility or lack thereof. This project has been discussed for years. I believe the initial plans date back to 2022. There have been many delays and excuses given as to why construction still has not started, and quite frankly, I really don't care to hear any more. We were told that the plans to build at the existing site were finalized in November of 2024. We were assured by Mr. Ledwith in the fall that construction would start early 2025 as long as we had a mild winter, which I believe we did. In March of this year, G. Donovan was selected as the contractor. Then nothing happened because there wasn't enough money allocated for this project, which we all knew was going to happen. I spoke to Bob Palmer several times and was told that there's an issue with a permit because the town had no idea that the land they purchased several years ago had 2 parcels. Really? It's pretty clear if you look at the plot plan. Aren't the 2 departments that would coordinate the permit next door to each other? Yet somehow it has taken months to get the permit finalized. All this while I find out that G. Donovan is working at the new project at Rockledge. I asked Bob Palmer if that project too had permits, and he said yes. It's amazing how that one got fast-tracked. Oh, wait a minute. Rockledge brings revenue to the town of West Hartford, and the dog pound does not. That's the difference. And this is the town that cares? I think not. They deserve to be able to properly, oh, I'm sorry, lost my place here. At least not about our animals. The animals and the staff that work in this building deserve better. They deserve to be able to properly care and provide space for animals in need and not have to send them to other facilities. Here we are, June 24th, and nothing has happened, which means even if we broke ground tomorrow, this project probably won't be completed until 2027. To say I am frustrated and beyond disappointed is an understatement. I want and demand to know when this project is finally going to start. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Debbie Sheridan of Debbie's for Dogs, and I'm at the Pound a lot. I'm a behavior consultant in town. I go there to evaluate dogs. I go there to help introductions for maybe someone wants to adopt one of the dogs that we have. And I also go as often as I can to help the animal control officers know how much we appreciate them, because we have some of the best animal control officers. And I know a lot of them in the state. I end up doing evaluations. I testify in court cases. So I meet them all, and we are very, very lucky. You know, if you go down there, if you ever want to go and take a look, you will be quite disappointed. I would be worried even about losing our animal control officers because of the place that they have to go to work every day. The office also is the lobby, also is the storage room. I would say it's about the size of a small bedroom, maybe like 10 by 10. There's literally no room for anything. Sometimes I go there and there's cats stacked in cages. There's a bunny on the counter. There's a parrot on the floor on the cage. When that happens, the dogs can't come into a space to meet another dog, to meet another person. It's very sad. Think about a day like today where it's just too hot to go outside and there's nowhere for them to go. It has failed so many times with the Department of Agriculture. The Department of Agriculture has stated that it can't be fixed. It just needs to be done. In 2022, the animal control officers that were there were very excited to show me the architectural plans. Nothing happened. I have articles here with me from 2022 saying that it was going to start. I have an article from last year, and it seems like repeatedly, I don't know why, it's pushed to the bottom of the barrel because, you know, the animals have no voice. So we're here tonight to speak for the animals, and we hope that something can move forward as soon as possible. Thanks for your time.
Hi, my name is Andrea Stone. I am at 180 Florence Street. I am one of the founders of the Friends of the West Hartford Pound Facebook group. So it's a group of citizens that we, are really interested in moving this project forward. And I think West Hartford is the town that cares, but there's a serious brand misalignment going on with that pound. I'm embarrassed, and frankly, all of you all should be embarrassed too. This pound was built in the 1970s. You consider a day like today and what that must feel like, not only for the ACO, but for the animals that are there too. I wouldn't put my dog in a situation like that, and I'm sure many of you would not as well. So, what do we want you to do? Well, we want accountability. We've been told and promised over and over again that things were going to happen. We were told that we were going to be notified about milestones. Well, the bid was recently awarded. No one shared that with our group. We would have loved to celebrate that. It happened 6 months later than anticipated, but we would have had a lot of guarded optimism. So what can you do? I ask that you get involved. You ask about these milestones. Go check out the site. Is dirt being moved? We need the accountability and the transparency that only you elected officials can provide. Obviously, our citizen group has been asking and contacting and reaching out and pressing, and nothing has happened. The animals deserve better, our ACOs deserve better, the town deserves better. And we need to show that we are the town that cares for the animals too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stone, Ms. Sheridan, and Ms. Gauthier. I know the town manager is planning to update us with the way our legal, works. I mean, you can talk on the break, but we don't have an interactive. We receive comments. So I appreciate it, and we take it very seriously. Thank you very much for your input and what you do for the dog community in West Hartford. All right, we are adjourning. We don't have to make a motion for that. Oh, no, we do. I make without objection, I move that we adjourn. Is there any objection? There being no objection, we stand adjourned. We're going to take a short break, and then we will start the council meeting, maybe 8:20. Well, let's do 5 minutes, 8:25, if we can make it back here.
Not on their side of the sidewalk, on the other side. She said 2 trees, you know, little shepherd. They are, but there's one that there's like 2 trees coming out of one. That's the one. And so basically, like, they'll make a left turn. Use it for where they're at. Yeah.
Hey, Rick, through that, as of yesterday morning, tree in the cemetery. It's like a month. Yeah.
I was just wondering.
That's ours.
It is. I was wondering if someone can survey the area, see like.
Excuse me, Mr. Dallas again.
All right. I think a few people didn't eat dinner. All right. We are calling the June 24th Town Council meeting to order, 7:30 p.m. All right, 8:30. And we will begin with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Davidoff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Counselor Blanks.
Present.
Mayor Cantor.
Here.
Counselor Cortez.
Here.
Counselor Fay.
Present.
Counselor McGinnis.
Present.
Counselor Poland.
Here.
Counselor Walters.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Winograd.
Here.
Counselor Zdanowitz.
Here.
All present.
Thank you, Mr. Davidoff. We're going to go to, there's no proclamations right now. We did a lot last meeting. Is there anybody signed up to speak that was not the subject of the public hearing? There's nobody. Is there anybody in the audience on anything on the agenda? I don't see any. Okay, we will go to number 4, Mr. Winograd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Without objection, I move that items 5A, 5B, and 7C be placed on the consent calendar.
Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, the items are placed on consent. Mr. Winograd.
I move adoption of the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We now go to 6, Mr. Winograd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve, subject to conditions, an application of Oceanport Realty Capital LLC and OP 160 Simsbury LLC, contract purchaser of 160 Simsbury Road for an amendment to existing Special Development District SDD number 106, currently known as Hoffman, Summerwood, and Henley Woods. The application seeks to amend the approximately 9.9 acre Summerwood parcel at 160 Simsbury Road to allow a parking expansion, drainage, and site-related improvements to support a change of use of the existing building from age-restricted multifamily to non-age-restricted multifamily housing units.
Oh, could you just repeat all of that, Mr. Winograd? I'm sorry. No, a second.
Twice, backwards.
Motion's been made and seconded. I am passing around conditions, so take those. And we can have our discussion, and then we will do a roll call vote. So is there anybody that would like to start? Mr. Cortez.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So with this, in politics, you learn that there's winners and losers. And this project is, an example of that. The winners is, the neighbors. I think, you get this property that gets the much needed update. Much needed update. Also, winners is families, all this building that we've been doing in West Hartford, all these rentals, very few 3-bedroom homes, right? So that gives opportunities for families. It does have an affordable component to it, so that's another winner. But, as far as losers, it's that missing middle. It's the seniors, so we're going to give up a 55, zoning for 55 and older community where there is a need of that in town. We just proved it, with fellowship housing in West Hartford. There's a waiting list there. There's a demand. So this is already zoned for that. And just to remove that, we're making it harder for seniors in the community, and I think that I think is a missed opportunity. So so this revolt is a struggle. It's like, who do you pick? Someone has to lose. And it's hard that it's that missing middle that loses in this end. Yes, that you don't prevent. It's your fair housing, so you're not going to prevent seniors from living in there, but just to give them a community. Especially with the assisted livings communities that we're losing here, and more so because seniors are aging in place. Living in place longer. I struggle with that, but that was all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Mr. Dodge, I don't know, we just handed out the conditions. I didn't know if you wanted to address that.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, before you are proposed conditions of approval for the project, I want to emphasize that these are additive to the existing conditions of approval, so they are not a replacement for the existing conditions, but would be in addition to those. Madam Mayor, there are two new conditions of approval for this. The first is a requirement that the applicant abide by the conditions set forth in the inlands wetlands permit that they received for the property, and that is incorporated by reference. They would be required to do that regardless of whether we were including in the conditions of approval. In addition to that, as we discussed during the public hearing process, there's also a requirement for 8% of the residential units to be set aside as affordable units at 80% AMI for the area. Madam Mayor, that is all of the new conditions that we have added to the current conditions of approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. Any questions on the conditions of approval? Any bicycle facility was not added. I don't know if you, is that something you wanted to talk about?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'd mentioned two things, and I'll take the applicant on their word about adding in bicycle. I don't think we need to add that, but certainly highly recommend it. On the affordability portion, there is testimony from them as to their intent about the specifics of it. Again, I'd feel a little more comfortable if those were spelled out in the conditions, that in fact that it would apply to the multifamily, the multi-bedroom units. I'd leave it to Corporation Council as to whether or not sort of the representations made in the hearing are sufficient for that. Because I'd hate to see, I very much, and I very much appreciate the 8%, and I'm excited about this project. But I wouldn't want to have a dispute in 2 years, and maybe even a different developer or whatever else, where we end up having 9 units coming out of the 1 bedroom and not having had something on the record different than that. So that is my concern on that issue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In terms of the representations made by the applicant during the hearing, that would not be binding on them as part of this process. I would note that the applicant would be required to submit a housing affordability plan, which needs to be approved by my office and would require the applicant to include things like unit designation and that sort of thing. If you would like, Madam Mayor, perhaps while we debate this issue and we could perhaps table it for later in the meeting, I could have a brief discussion with the applicant to see if they could provide more specifics in the conditions about the affordable housing requirements, if the council deems that appropriate.
Okay. So that probably makes sense. I would expect that a few other councilors share that same interest and would like to see that. So should we take a break then, or should we continue to go on?
No, Madam Mayor, I think it would be fine as long as if anybody else thinks they're going to ask me to add conditions, that would be helpful now. But I think outside of that, we can proceed with the debate. But if anybody has any other suggestions that they would like added to the conditions, now would be a good time to raise that before I discuss it with the applicant.
Mr. Zdanowitz.
I just have a point of clarification, because in this affordability plan, we have 8% for the 108 residents. Doesn't delineate between bedrooms, so what is the addition to the affordable housing piece?
What I was saying is that's what I'm talking about, is it doesn't specify which, how many from each of the bedroom categories. So we have whether it's one or two, or I guess even 3 bedroom. In other words, I'm looking for designation as to how many of each.
That's a showstopper for you, the 8% doesn't satisfy?
No, I'm fine with the 8%. I was looking for details as to where,
And we need to
which
take a
of those.
break for the details? Or can we just pass the 8%?
That's what we're,
That's what I'm asking.
that's the discussion that Corporation Council wants to have as to whether or not we can get more specifics on that.
I think it was a clarification that the 8% applies to 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms, rather than just 1 bedroom. So that, I think that could be as simple as wording it that way, 8% to all bedroom, mixes, whatever, across the board. It could be as simple as that, if that's okay. So, and again, I think that the comment about bill for CT, moving it to 20%, you maybe could open it up and say at least 8%. And that percentage would apply to all 3 categories consistently, or something like that.
Yes, Madam Mayor, 8% would be the floor. As the applicant indicated during the hearing, it sounds like they anticipate to pursue more affordable units than that. So 8% is simply the floor. So I don't know that additional language on that would be necessary.
Okay, just that it applies to all bedroom types is all that I think. Okay, any other things on the conditions before? All right, further comments? Ms. McGinnis.
Well,
we're going to discuss it while they're out there.
Okay.
If we have questions.
I feel weird saying it to, they're not in here, but through you, Madam Mayor, I support this project. I think it's a good reuse of an existing development. I have to be honest, those 3 bedrooms look kind of nice. So that's really the only comments I have. I think this is going to be a great project for the town.
Thank you, Ms. McGinnis. Ms. Blanks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would agree, especially with this section of town. I think this is a great opportunity, especially, I know Councilor Cortez talked about the older population, 55 and over, and I know many of us are approaching that. But at the same time, I hear so many young people talk about how they really wish that they could move to West Hartford, but either there's no availability, or it's just too high and they can't afford it, or there's just not enough inventory. And I know the concerns of some of my colleagues around the table, but I really do think that this would be a really good fit, and this existing structure would be good for a repurpose. And the fact that it's sort of mixed with the nearby boundary properties. And personally, I do know that most people, when they come to West Hartford and they rent, they always magically find an affordable house, residential, to move into. So I will be supporting this as well.
Thank you, Ms. Blanks. Ms. Fay?
Thank you very much, and thanks to the presenters and everybody involved. I do share the concern that my colleague mentioned about the overage. I've tried to make a pitch for the over 55 communities. They are desirable. They sell out very quickly. My hometown has 2, and they were gone like that. And they make a lot of sense. And there's no zoning change typically for single-family areas. One thing that I was surprised about at the public hearing, there wasn't a whole lot of opposition, and as well as submitted comments. And normally, there's significant opposition. So that kind of struck me as less of my concern, because I really do care what residents and people who live in the abutting and joining areas have to say about that, because it impacts their home. So I know I can't ask questions now, but that just was intriguing to me. And I don't know if anybody else noted that, but normally, the line is out the door for people in opposition. I am concerned about the age, again, and that was brought up. And now I can't ask questions now because it didn't occur to me before, but I don't, if something changed and you wanted to go back to over 55, is that a difficult thing to do? Because I do think the markets change and needs change and demographics change. That's more of an observation. I do like that it's retrofit. I think that's great. I do think it's a good use and repurpose. It is a lovely facility. And this doesn't impact your development per se. But I just wonder in the long term with the mix of rentals that we're bringing online as opposed to ownership opportunities, what the town is going to look like in the future. It's not just today that we make these decisions. It impacts down the future. So, these are difficult decisions to make, and that's why we're here. But I do appreciate everything about the property, and I'm obviously my wheels are spinning, and I'm thinking about it. But the lack of opposition really made a point with me. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fay. Mr. Zerdano, you're good? Okay, Ms. Pullen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councilor Fay that we do make some very difficult decisions at this table. For me, this is not one of them. This is one of the easiest decisions that we have had the opportunity to make. I think a lot of us are disappointed that Summerwood was not able to maintain sustainability, but given that it is going out of business, it's good to have a developer come in who wants to maintain the look of the property and improve it and has made significant outreach. I also am very pleased to see the number of 2 and 3 bedroom units. This is one of the things that we've heard from our Senior Citizen Advisory Commission as well as other residents who've come forward and said, how can we make it easier for our residents to age in place in town is to make sure that there are apartments and condos that have at least 2 bedrooms so they can have somebody living in with them. And that opportunity is going to be available in this new development. As for apartments versus condos, I think that we have approved a mix of both over the course of the last 18 months or 2 years or so, and we're going to see a lot of people have different kinds of opportunities to move to West Hartford, whether it's on a rental basis or whether as homeowners. So I'm very happy to support this project. I am one of the neighbors not quite within the 500-foot buffer, but further down Mohegan Drive, and I am happy to see that this property is going to have some new life brought into it, and I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pullen. Mr. Walters.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. I do want to thank the presenters for bringing this forward. I think you did a great job at making it very clear as to what this could become. There's a couple things that of note. First, I feel like I have to reiterate this yet again that capitalism drives what we do, and for better or for worse, people have their arguments about it, and the market is the market. So if it wants apartments right now, it wants apartments. If 30 years from now it wants condos, then we'll be approving condos. So as far as the specific property is concerned, I think this is a wonderful adaptive reuse of a property that is clearly struggling. We've all heard that. And I think that, we're not tearing anything down. We're not raising woods. We're not, we're just reusing what's already there. And I absolutely will be supporting this and I'm even happier to do so with the idea of affordability in mind and not just attainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Is there anybody? Mr. Zdanovich.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Don't confuse my lack of comments or questions from a lack of caring I did my due diligence on this and read your stuff that you presented to us, and I came in with a very comprehensive idea of what's going on in this project, and I want to thank you for it. I think my colleague said that there are some difficult decisions to be made here, but this isn't one of them, and I came in knowing that with the information that was provided with us and the additional approvals as well. So I'm here to support this project, and thanks for making it very comprehensive right from the beginning.
Thank you, Mr. Zadanowitz. Mr. Winograd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Real briefly, we do have new conditions of approval, which I thank you for your accommodation on that. And I'm sure Corporation Counsel will describe them, but I appreciate that. And I appreciate the whole effort. We're all sad to see any business fail. And I certainly feel for the residents there and the employees. It's a sad thing to have what had happened there. But given that circumstance, I'm thrilled that you were able to come in so quickly. This could have been an empty property for a while, and that would have made it even harder to do anything with it. And it could easily have been a place where it would be a tear down if it were left unoccupied. So I think we're incredibly lucky that you showed up. Whoever contacted you gets my thanks. You came in. You're gonna, get it as soon as you can, and just start fixing it up. But I think that it's just, we're very lucky, and really appreciative of you investing in the community. So, thank you very much, and welcome to town. And it's going to be great. Going to be a great facility. And unlike Councilman McGinnis, I'll probably be looking at it myself. Love to see what you come up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winograd. And I'll just add, thank you. It was a great presentation. I thought the team did a wonderful job of showing us all the elements. I think, when I think about a 55 plus, I understand that this could work for 55 plus and will be very attractive for people. And some of us, many of us at the table might fit into that category. But it's inclusive rather than exclusive. And I think that's what is so nice. And I have a 97-year-old mother, and nothing lights her up more than seeing my grandchildren and her great grandchildren, and spending time with her own grandchildren and myself as well, so most of the time. But anyway, I thought a couple of things. This is a high quality project, and I think many of us know the Hoffman family and the commitment that they had made to this investment to care for seniors in the community. And I want to thank them, and I know the Jewish Federation helped to support this facility for a while, and this has been, they tried to keep it here and make it work. But it was designed in a way with a lot of dignity and with respect for those residents, and in a way that is built upon, and what a wonderful legacy to add new homes and new life into this facility. So I'm really grateful. It is consistent with our POCD. It does add a variety of housing choices to people, and hopefully will also unstick some of our single-family housing that is really, really hard for people to attain. So I think all of those things work well, and I'm glad you are investing in our community. You are a high-quality investor, and you take pride in your projects and your developments, and I know that this will be a very, very high quality project here as well. So thank you so much. And with that, we will go to a roll call.
Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dodge.
If I could, I would just like to take a moment to describe the modification that we made to the conditions of approval to ensure that I captured the intent of the council. So, Madam Mayor, we have added language to what I will call the draft conditions of approval, which says that the 8% of the 108 residential units will be proportionately assigned based on unit type and based on representations that the applicant made to me when we conferred on this. That would result in a breakdown of 6 one-bedroom units, 2 two-bedroom units, and 1 three-bedroom unit.
Yes, that is the understanding. Appreciate your reviewing that. Okay. Now we will go to roll call. Mr. Davidoff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Counselor Blanks,
Yes.
Mayor Cantor,
Yes.
Counselor Cortez,
No.
Counselor Fay,
No.
Counselor McGinnis,
Yes.
Counselor Poland,
Yes.
Counselor Walters, Deputy
Yes.
Mayor Winograd,
Yes.
Counselor Zdanowitz.
Yes.
It passes 7-2.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of your night as we continue. We will go to 7A, Mr. Winograd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Got to get my papers in
Congratulations
order.
again. Yeah, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
I move to adopt a resolution setting the town manager's compensation.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. I am going to kick it over to Mr. Winograd, and then we can all have a little input. But Mr. Winograd.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So obvious reasons why we're not turning this over to Rick for his normally brilliant and concise explanation, which is part of what we're acknowledging. So what this resolution does is increase the town manager's salary 3% effective July 1, 2024, 2.5% effective January 1, 2025, and then 2.5% on next January, 2006. So we're talking about 3, 2.5, 2.5. We also increased the matching contribution if he chooses to from 5% to 7% potential match. So a few things, and in the end, it takes his salary from the current rate of $176,000 plus to $191,000, which is a bargain. And so we could make this into, and others might, into just praising Rick and the fantastic work he's done, and certainly some of this, there's certainly merit based in this, but really, I think as we discussed this in committee, and have been talking about this for a while, this is also just based on the market. We believe in West Hartford and have done that for other employees, and certainly Mr. Ledworth has helped us get there with other employees of his, that we should pay fairly and we should pay enough to keep people here. And we've looked at comparisons of other comparable, and there is nobody comparable in terms of a town like West Hartford, but other town managers who make as much or more for smaller places, many of which also have deputy town managers, but you do not. In terms of the work that you perform, I'd hate to even try to calculate this on an hourly basis. So again, also, there is a retroactive element to this, which is budgeted. But one reason we are moving it forward into the future is we're sick of doing retro. That in fact you should get paid when it is, and we also, for budgeting purposes, would rather pay it as we go along rather than have to say, do it in the reverse. In terms of, certainly in terms of as an economic decision, this is just a smart move to do, and I certainly encourage everyone to look at the numbers and to see that, in fact, this is deserved for the position of town manager. Beyond that, of course, your performance has been exemplary, certainly deserving of fair compensation and more, and I wish we could go higher. So again, I'd certainly urge everyone to support this motion, and all of us try to make your job and his job a little easier, because we're all pretty demanding. So again, thank you, and I've talked to everybody about this, and certainly in the committee, and I know Deb Poland will also want to speak to this, that we take it all very seriously, and compensation is a major part of what we do, and setting your terms. So I do urge support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winograd. And I gave, Mr. Winograd this was in he chairs the Finance and Administration meeting. That is why he is discussing this. And I mean, I want to frame that part of why this is very difficult and uncomfortable for Rick, and I appreciate that, and he wants to beam out of here so fast, and we will. But I just, we do have to go around the table. So I'm going to go to the members of the Finance Committee first, Ms. Pullen, and then Mr. Zdeno.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you to the Deputy Mayor for bringing this forward tonight. I don't want to embarrass you too much, but I mean, I think we all know how Rick seems to squeeze 26 hours out of every single day and 8 days out of every single week. In fact, taking care of whatever noise is going on out there right in the middle of a public hearing this evening is just one example. One thing that I just want to bring forward that has not been brought up is how much it would cost if we didn't have Mr. Ledwith as our town manager, and I'm not trying to give you any ideas, but if we had to advertise for this position. I don't think that there is any way we would find someone who knows and loves West Hartford as much as Mr. Ledwith does and has the capacity, the breadth and depth of knowledge without having to pay significantly more to bring somebody new in. And so to me, that makes it even clearer that, that we should appropriately raise his salary commensurate with what the market would have if he were to leave us and go somewhere else, or if we were to have to bring somebody in. Regarding the assistant or deputy town manager, just to put some context around the remarks that the deputy mayor made, towns around us that have an assistant or a deputy town manager include Bloomfield, Avon, Simsbury, Farmington, Newington, and Wethersfield, all of which are way smaller than West Hartford, provide fewer services to their residents, and just have a lot fewer people coming to visit from out of town. So there's just a lot more to do, and we really very much appreciate you. So I also would urge support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pullen. Mr. Zdanowitz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Deb, I'm going to steal some of your words, and because they kind of resonated. Rick, you know and love West Hartford, and that in itself is evident, and you exemplify West Hartford and its community. If it's just from in these meetings, talking to constituents, walking around, celebrate West Hartford and talking to people there, you're engaging, you're approachable, and that goes a long way. And you're easy to talk to, whether you're a town councilor or a student at any of the high schools, middle schools, or elementary schools. I've seen you around all kinds of West Hartford residents, and your personality really just kind of embodies what West Hartford and this community is really about. And this another very easy decision to make at this. Some people think this is a hard job. This is not a hard job to vote for this particular raise and for what Rick's done to this town. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zdanowitz. Mr. Cortez.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about how responsive you are and, how great of a town manager you are and, what a great bargain you are. So you're going to hear that enough. But those things are true, I'm glad when we had these discussions before, the numbers, it was easy to justify the numbers, but now if we had this discussion on salary now today, what other towns are paying town managers, and when you look at administrators at a school, an associate principal, what an associate principal makes at a school with other associate principals, and they have not even a fraction of your responsibility, we definitely have a deal. And if this is a bargain what we're getting right now. And the fact that you came through the system, you worked in HR, what it takes, what goes behind a budget, and that numbers matter. I'm glad that we're righting a wrong. And, as far as the retro piece, we're correcting that. And, because that costs money down the road too. So, doing it the right way is important. And, I'm glad that, that I'm working side by side with you, and that, we have a town manager that cares about his community. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Ms. Fay, you want to?
Certainly. I've been in your seat, by the way, in a board meeting where they were deciding on my compensation. It is awkward. But Mr. Winograd and I did speak about this, and I do support it. And you know how I feel about you. And it's a big job, and we need somebody good at the helm. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fay. Mr. Walters, I'm just going to go down the line if you guys want to. Pass if you don't.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor.
He's dying. He's getting redder and redder by the minute.
Yeah, well, I would like to hope that there's at least a few others that ask the kind of silly questions that I ask at times, and he's always been nothing but polite and patient with me, even if he probably didn't want to be. And I appreciate that a great deal of Mr. Ledwith. But it's not about me, it's about him and what the work he does. And, when he is, you don't want to text Rick when you have a thought at 11 o'clock at night, because he'll answer you. Even if you don't think he will, he will. Even if you tell him not to, he will answer you. And, his commitment to the town, whether it is, as was mentioned, walking around, celebrate, coming in here and keeping us well informed, working with us, through budget questions, whether it's going out at the scene of an accident. He is in tune with what's going on. He's in tune with all of us, for better or for worse. And he, quite frankly, deserves the recognition through this raise, I think. Not just because, I think he's worth it, or I'm afraid he's going to go somewhere else, but because I think he's, he is quality people, as I would say, or somebody would say. And I think I would urge everyone to support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Ms. Blanks.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. So Rick, and I always I will text Rick, especially if I'm walking along and I see something. And Rick is so gracious and humble and very professional and very responsive. And I know Rick has met a lot of professional challenges in this position as town manager, and he still upholds his professionalism and responds to people in the best way that he can. I'm sure he meets with a lot of disagreements, but still, Rick is just so mild-mannered and professional and responds to the very best. And if he doesn't respond directly, he makes sure that one of his directors does timely and loops him into the mix. And that's what we need when we're talking about a CEO of the town. We need a leader who is going to be responsive, who's going to be objective, and who's going to listen. And that's part of being in a well-oiled machine and team, because we all know that in order to get work done, even though you have a leader, we all have to do it together. And that's what I see Rick does, and that's what I admire the most about him. And not only that, but such a role model to a number of young people in this town and outside of the town. And I say that because I have a child in media. And whenever something happens, she'll say, "Mom, do you think?" I was like, "I don't know. You have to reach out and find out." And he's always gracious. And I think that's very important, because as adults and in these leadership roles, it's not just doing something because we're in these roles, but many people are watching, and especially our young people are watching and inspired to these positions as leaders, whether they're council, mayor, or town manager. So I believe that through this committee, and what was discussed in the committee and how we put this package together, I would like to see it a little higher, but I know this is what we can do at this time, and it is well-deserved because we got to pay for value, and value is not cheap. And you, Mr. Town Manager, is a remarkable town manager, and I am honored to say that I will support this. And thank you for all that you do, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Ms. Blanks. Ms. McGinnis.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So one thing, I mean, we've talked about it a little, but the amount of institutional knowledge that Mr. Ledwith has. He's been here so long in different positions. He knows all the employees. He talks to them. He gets along with them. It's rare also to find someone who cares as much about their job as Mr. Ledwith does. And I've seen that myself. I'm going to embarrass him and say I saw him get teary-eyed at the fellowship thing when, but that's just not something that you find that often. And as has been said, towns surrounding us have a lot less population, or several of them, and they have assistant town managers. Mr. Ledwith takes all of this on himself. It's really a 24/7 job. I try not to contact him unless it's an absolute emergency after work hours or on the weekends. I might contact him at 5:30 when there's a giant bear while my husband's mowing the lawn. But I will be supporting this, and the only thing that I would like to see added to this is that he is not allowed to retire. And I don't know if we could add that in, but I think that's very important because I don't know what we would do without Mr. Ledwith. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGinnis. Yeah, he would really. Okay. Part of the, it is hard. It's hard to sit here. It's hard when we as municipal public servants, it is a really hard balance to pay people what they are worth and balance that with what our taxpayers have to pay. And that's partly what I think is on your shoulders all the time. And so I think we had sort of navigated this. We're going to do it, and then we're going through a hard time, so we're not. And then we're going to do it, and then we're not. And that's really the wrong methodology. And we really have to keep up with paying the right salary for this position. But not only is it for this position, we actually have the best town manager in the state. And so I'm sorry, we're late on this. We all had, I think, a little bit of a little discomfort in being so public about it, but we really should be proud. We should be proud that we have such an elite and amazing town manager and a wonderful person who has led West Hartford to be a top-ranked community in the country. Without Mr. Ledwith, we would not be in those positions. Today, one of my first announcements is a realtor, Ronnie showed it to me, Realtor.com, we are ranked number 12 nationally. And again, that does not come without the tremendous work that Mr. Ledwith does. I also want to thank Tara because this is 24/7. Unfortunately, it's a job you can't turn off. And maybe some people could, but Mr. Ledwith can't because he is of the community and for the community in every way he functions. And I know that the good days are really good. The bad days are really bad, and unfortunately, we've had too many bad days. We've had some really good days too, but it's when you care and you care so deeply that it hits so hard, and that's what I see in Mr. Ledwith, and so many comments, but. You are a role model. You are a leader. You're confident and humble. And I don't know how you do that, and you're respectful and strong and firm. And all of those things are so important for leaders. I have worked with, you are my 5th town manager that I worked with, not all as mayor. But I've worked with 3 as mayor, just for a little bit for one. I treasure you as a person, as a leader, and I'm so grateful. And I know that you deserve every cent of this and probably double. But unfortunately, Mr. Zdanovich would probably yell at me. So, I did just hear, actually, we had a wedding on the Cape, and I did hear a town manager's salary for a community that was about 10,000, and it was way higher, so just saying. Anyway, so we will go to a voice vote, unless there's any other comments. Okay. I know Mr. Riley was anxious to have this one done. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No one's opposed. Motion carries, and thank you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And if you can, I just would like to quickly respond and thank you all for your support. And
You
your
objecting?
confidence. And, Councilor Cortez mentioned working alongside and honor Councilor Blanks. And it has been an honor, an absolute honor to work alongside each of you for the last 3 years. And we have a lot to be proud of together. And working with each of you and working with our staff and our residents and doing what we do every day to make West Hartford the best town to live in, to play in, and to work in is an absolute honor for me, and I know it is for each of you as well. Whether it's, affordable housing and being the leader in the state and doing what we can to address affordability here in town and making our streets safer. You talk about the good days like fellowship and the bad days that we've all been dealing with in terms of tragedy occurring on our streets, but we don't stop. We just keep moving forward, and we will get there. We will make our streets safer, and we will continue to make our town better each and every week that we work together. So it's been a great sense of pride, source of pride for me to work with each of you and our staff and our residents, and I look forward to. We have a lot to accomplish for our animal control facility, among many others, that we will continue working towards, and we will work on them together in the coming months and in the coming years. So thank you all again for your support. It's been, like I said, a great honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith, and you said it so well. And I also do want to thank Mr. Winograd for handling this through his committee and bringing it to today. So thank you very much. All right. We already voted, right? Yes. Okay, now we go to B, 7B.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt a resolution appropriating municipal tax revenues from cannabis sales to support the Summer Youth Employment and Learning Program.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Ledwith.
Thank you. This resolution will appropriate $7,000 of cannabis funds to support the Summer Youth Employment and Learning Program. This youth employment program connects Connecticut youth between the ages of 14 and 24 with career exploration opportunities and paid work experience each summer. Here in town, the program is administered by the Bridge Family Center. Last year, the program served 22 individuals ranging in age from 14 to 19. And this year, we anticipate serving up to 25 individuals with this program. So through you, Madam Mayor, happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. Any questions for? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I just wanted to kick it to Ms. Pullen if she had any comments first before.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This did go through the Human and Community Services Committee and received great support from its members. This is, again, a way that the town partners on this program with the Bridge. The Bridge gets the state grant for the Summer Youth Employment Program, and this covers some of the ancillary costs. It's a small amount of money, but it's going to help about 25 teenagers make some money this summer, and would appreciate my colleagues' support.
Thank you, Ms. Pullen. Ms. Fay.
Yes, I support this. I'm on Deb's committee. I don't know that I asked this last time, but what are the ages for the youth that are eligible to participate in this program? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, ages 14 to 24.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? This is a small amount of money that changes lives. So, all right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And now to you, Mr. Ledwith, reports from the town manager.
Thank you. I will start with council business. We have our next council meeting on July 15th at 6:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. So we'll start an hour earlier for our 2 summer meetings, and then I'll be working with each of the committee chairs on our summer schedule for each of our standing committees. Do have a quick Vision Zero update. We have completed our first quick build project of the season. We do, if you have a chance, maybe on your way home, you can drive down South Quaker, and at the intersection of South Quaker and Kingswood, we have curb extensions on each of those 4 corners. Department of Public Works installed those curb extensions yesterday and finished up this morning. From there, DPW will move to phase 1 of our quick builds, and we'll have 5 locations on Cedric and 2 on Park. Phase 1 will be completed by July 18th or sooner. Yesterday was a great opportunity for DPW to kind of hone their skills in installing these. So knowing John and his crew, they will work very quickly to move through phase 1. We will also be installing 12 raised crosswalks and speed bumps by the end of next week. And then we will install 2 additional ones by the end of the summer. So I'll keep you updated as we move through the summer. Certainly I'll give you an update at the next meeting in July as well. But we're looking forward to accomplishing even more than we did last year in terms of Vision Zero. Also want to give a quick update, as we heard during public comment regarding the animal control facility. And unfortunately, there have been a number of issues that we have run into, not unlike issues that we have run into at Rockledge with the driving range as well. So that project, we've run into some issues that we've talked about as well. So so with this one, we did we did go out to bid this past winter. Then in March, following the bidding process, realized we were short on the funding that we were required to or needed for the project. The council graciously appropriated the needed funds at that time. At that point, we were working with our planning division and building department and corporation council, and we did need to do a lot line revision. And that required us to amend the deed as well and file a new deed with the town clerk's office. And we had a number of projects that were stacked up within that required legal assistance. So that took, probably took an extra 6 to 7 weeks to get that process done. So at that point, the contract was signed with Donovan, who's also the contractor for the driving range. Different teams, though, so one project will not slow down the progress of our animal control facility. The contractor moved some equipment on site today. We'll continue to move equipment onto this site over the next couple of days, and it will become an active construction site on by Monday. So, and we'll certainly keep you abreast of progress on that, but we do anticipate that the project will take approximately 16 months. Hopefully they can come in under that timeline, but yeah, it will take up to 16 months. I don't know what that noise is. When I did go outside earlier, it sounded like a leaf blower down the block, but it doesn't sound like that right now. So I will find out what it is on the way home.
It's kind of late, too. I know, right? Okay.
A couple of other quick updates. As we know, we are under an extreme heat warning, so, and that is, it's taking place from Sunday until Wednesday, tomorrow, June 25th. Residents at this point can take refuge in our air-conditioned places like the malls, movie theaters, as well as our library, senior center, community center during regular business hours. We also have our pools and splash pads open, so encourage people to visit one of our many pools and splash pads. I do wanted to make one other announcement. There is a post-legislative session meeting that will take place on Tuesday, July 8th. The West Hartford State Delegation will host a post-legislative session meeting on Tuesday, July 8th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Right here in the council chambers. This event is open to the public. West Hartford's delegation will recap key events from the recent legislative session, discuss newly passed laws and important decisions, and answer questions from our residents. And that completes the town manager's report this evening, Mayor and councilors. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have about any of these items or anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for the town manager? Okay, Mr. Walters.
Thank you, and through you. I know I've brought up the cooling centers and refuge, places of refuge during the heat. There's no 24-hour here in West Hartford, and have we ever determined that there would be a need, and how would that, or when would that have been done? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So we do not have a 24-hour heat advisor or a emergency management center for or shelter for getting out of the heat. So certainly it would be something we would address should we have experienced a major townwide power outage. We would certainly explore the possibility of opening up a shelter at that point. But it is something we could explore through committee. I could meet with our team of directors, and it's not something that we've done in the past, but it's not to say that's not something that we couldn't take a closer look at. I know the question came up. There wasn't a shelter available in town on Sunday. All of our buildings were closed, but the mall was open, and I did have a chance to explore some of the statewide shelters. Hartford had a couple, New Britain had a couple, Bristol, but we weren't unique in terms of a community of our size not having that type of space available. But it is something that we can explore further through you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are you, anything further?
I just wanted to express that I do have a little concern with just given the increase of people who may not be able to pay their electric bills as completely in full these days as maybe even just a couple of years ago. I just want to, and I don't know how we would determine the need. That's all. And so I just wanted to bring that up. Thanks.
Well, my thought for somebody in that position in the town that cares might be able to help and to bridge a gap when you have a few days of, that's something that we can manage. If there was really an extended heat wave for long periods of time, I'm sure we would be talking about what to do. It'd probably be one of our high schools or, as a temporary, or Elmwood, but as we do if power goes out in the winter, right, and people don't have heat. So. Any other questions or comments? Ms. McGinnis.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to make a comment not in regards to what Barry said, but just as a reminder to people that if they have pets, that if it's too hot for you to walk in bare feet, it's too hot for your dog to walk in bare feet right now. And dogs can have heat stroke and get overheated just like people can. So just a reminder to everyone to keep that in mind when their pets, at least through tomorrow, and if we have any further heat waves like this, which hopefully we do not.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? Okay. Corporation Counsel, Mr. Dodge, do you have anything to report? Or
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I could just take a moment to add my sentiments to the comments in support of Rick. I'm not sure of this is how the attorney-client relationship is supposed to go, but I think I go to Rick for advice more than he comes to me. I can't tell you how often Gina will come into my office with some sticky HR issue, and my first response is usually call Rick. But as lawyers, we can often present what you can do, and Rick has an incredible ability to come down on what the right thing is to do in any given situation. So you're a great client and a great friend. And Ms. McGinnis, we are happy to help you draft that restrictive covenant for Rick's retirement anytime you want. But Madam Mayor, with that, I have no formal report this evening, and we do not require an executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. Yes, that decades of HR experience really does something special. I don't know. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Dodge? No. All right. Announcements, I'll try to go through these briefly, but as I mentioned before, again, I mean, this is incredible. Realtor.com ranks West Hartford 12th best place to live in America. It says best small cities to enjoy amazing quality of life. Article on June 15, 2025. Realtor used U.S. News and World Report recent rankings of the 859 U.S. cities with populations below 100,000 to develop the list of 15 best small cities in the country. Article noted that small cities can often offer all that a big city does: culture, diversity, activities, shops, housing choices without higher price tags, and quality of life issues such as crime and gridlock. The article described West Hartford as sitting right next to the state capital of Hartford. This suburb is known for its wide open spaces, charming historical homes, excellent school system, a vibrant cultural scene, including Celebrate West Hartford, a two-day festival that draws nearly 40,000 visitors with vendors, food, and live music. So pretty amazing, and again, kudos to Mr. Ledwith, who leads it all. So, all right, Elizabeth Johnson wins 20th annual eSmart contest. This is for energy-saving billboard advertisement design. Featured a home with aluminum foil on its roof to depict solar panels with the tagline, "Save the Polar, Install Solar." She sought to encourage her community to install solar panels to help save the polar ice caps and maintain current sea levels. More than 500 students throughout Connecticut submitted projects for consideration. 35 entries from 26 schools in 25 Connecticut communities were selected as this year's finalist. A Green Drop donation site opened on June 12th. It was a really hot day out there, and they are an outside facility, and anyway, the site directly benefits the Purple Heart Foundation, which funds programs for veterans facing financial hardship, PTSD, and other post-service challenges. Located in the Stop and Shop and Crazy Bruce parking lot at 176 Newington Road, the truck is staffed 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with attendants who assist donors directly with their vehicles. So I actually watched a couple donors donate, and it worked really, really well, and for a great, wonderful cause. Book it June 28th. Children ages 2 to 12 can lace up their sneakers and enjoy a fun run at Sterling Field. Toddler dash at 10 a.m., quarter mile at 10:15, 1 mile at 10:30, and registration call the library. Bookworm Fest is an annual celebration of all things adventure fantasy board games at the Noah Webster Library, Saturday, July 26th from 10 to 4. They will have discussion panels, food, face painting vendors, a sword-wielding class instructed by a real knight. All ages are welcome to join in the fun. Dressing up is encouraged. The Original Promise of America will take place on July 10th at 6:30 at the Noah Webster House. This lecture is one of a series exploring how the revolutionary generation, Noah Webster's generation, defined the purposes and prospects of their new nation. It is held in conjunction with West Hartford's celebration of America's 250th anniversary. Pre-registration is required. Party on the Patio will take place West Hartford Senior Centers July 2nd from 3 to 4, featuring at first I thought it said Bill Murray. I'm like, wow. Bill Murphy, who will perform vintage folk, Americana, rock and pop. Free ice cream will be served. Bring a lawn chair and blanket to the Frida Boardman Reisner Volunteer Memorial Patio. Frida Reisner was a good friend. Summer musical theater intensive program for young performers will take place at performers age 9 to 11 from July 7 to 27. Full and half-day options available. The program ends with a four-performance weekend of a Broadway musical. The Connecticut Family Theater Performing Arts Center is located 58 South Street. There is a link on our website. Greater Hartford Shakespeare Festival runs from July 9th through August 3rd. They will have two full-length productions, King Lear and Twelfth Night, at the University of St. Joseph campus. To accommodate growing demand, Clapper Classics will stage 10 rotating performances of each play, running Wednesday through Sunday evenings for 4 weeks, and there is a link for tickets. And then the Japan Summer Festival will take place on June 28th from 12 to 5 p.m. in Blueback Square. Don't miss the powerful Taiko drumming performance, Japanese marketplace, origami, calligraphy, teak experience, yo-yo fishing, crafts and games, face painting, a yukata experience, traditional dance, martial arts. You can also get a photo with Pikachu or Hello Kitty or participate in the Oban dance. It's really fun if you haven't been. Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I know the kids are on break right now for the summer, but food insecurity does not take a break. You know, that's a 365-day issue. And as my colleague, Mr. Walter stated, you know, there's families struggling with, you know, the increased costs in utilities. So when they go to the groceries, you know, there's one less item, you know, that they might have to take. And, you know, each week that ends up being less and less and less. So, so this gives an opportunity to bring the items here to Town that Cares, and is a resource that we do have. You know, so if you're having food insecurity issues, reach out to the Town that Cares. They do have a schedule online, I believe, and the staff here is very helpful. But if you do have extra, drop off at West Hartford United Methodist Church or here, or you can call me 860-798-7123 or text me and I'll come by your house and pick it up and drop it off here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez, and it is really important. And diapers and personal hygiene items, too. Anything else? Yes, Mr. Walters.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. And to follow up on Mr. Cortez, they do have a list there at the food pantry. Not to say you can't drop off whatever, but they typically have things that they are most in need of. I also wanted to thank our delegation and congratulate Park Road Playhouse on Park Road for receiving a Brownfields grant to help assist them in cleaning up the building that they are in, which that's a pretty large building and only a fraction of it is actually usable at the time. And so this will allow them to expand, possibly expand and utilize that building, put it to work. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. I think we're supposed to go under our desks. Wow, yeah. All right, any other announcements? Okay, we are not going to meet till after July 4th, so everybody have a wonderful July 4th celebration. Wonderful start to summer. Stay cool. I think most of the heat will feel better, a little better tomorrow, and then after that it'll be pretty cool. So, all right. I make a motion to adjourn. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, we are now adjourned. Good night, everybody.